Get ready for 2 hours of hard-hitting football talk, straight from their jocks about the jocks. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome once again to another episode of Football on the Know. I am Jim McPhee. Alongside of me is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, Know-It-Alls? Welcome back for another edition. And holy shit,
Yeah.
I just have to say, listen, if you're new to the show and you love football like I do, listen, this is the most interactive NFL talk show that you'll ever see.
Yeah.
Go ahead and search us up on Facebook and YouTube. Football on the Know Show. If you're going to YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also hit the notification bell so you get the update when we go live. And on Facebook, just become a know-it-all. This is what it is. We're a football community here. We share knowledge. We answer questions. We help each other out when times are tough. This is what this is all about. And also, we're on wherever you can follow your podcast. So make sure all the podcasts are out there. Make sure you hit a follow for us and follow us along our football journey here. But man,
absolutely.
All I have to say is holy Santa Claus shit. Because wow, what a bunch of trades. Listen, and the funny thing is like we've been saying this before free agency got here. We're like, listen, this is ramping up. This offseason is ramping up to be something that we've never seen before with trades and big-time signings and a lot of players moving around to different teams. So, wow, that's all I got to say is like there's been blockbuster trades that have happened that we never thought was going to happen, especially this year. And, yeah, there was rumors. We were kind of like maybe the fan in us was hoping that these things would happen. And sure enough, they are going through the roof. Signings, I mean, even big names getting cut and moving on to different teams. I mean, it's been chaotic. It's been ridiculous. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what's around the next corner because it's not ended yet. There's a lot of big names out there in free agency that still haven't found homes yet. So Stephon Gilmore still looking. Bobby Wagner, who was cut from the Seattle Seahawks. So there's a lot of names. Even Darrell Williams, the right tackle, who got cut by the Bills. I'm surprised he's still out there looking for a home as well.
Absolutely, and what the news you're talking about is the stuff that went down this afternoon, and it happened all pretty quickly too. It's funny how the story came out about Tyreek Hill and the Chiefs not being able to come to terms on a new deal, and they basically said, "Hey, you guys, you and your camp, go look for other trades and stuff," and instantly the names of the Miami Dolphins and the Jets came out. And we're both, and I'm talking to some colleagues of mine earlier on today, and we're like, wow, really, the AFC East, and these guys are going at it like, well, they have money to spend, and the Dolphins have been making a lot of moves this year in the free agency, picking up a bunch of different guys here and there to help better their team, and we've seen this team throughout the past years load up on trade picks and getting picks and things like that to try and do stuff in the draft. Now they're hot and heavy in free agency this season, and this AFC, it is the Wild West out there. We've seen so many different quarterbacks of elite stature or somewhere around there go find a new home, and now this happening here with Tyreek Hill, a star receiver here, the one of the main focuses of that Chiefs team, and one of the reasons that they've gotten this far, opposite side of Travis Kelce, now to the AFC East, and a team to where it looks like now they're trying to go fully loaded in to challenge the Bills for this division, because that's what they really mainly have to do in this to make the playoffs, because you're looking at these other squads here, especially the AFC West. You're a fan of the Raiders. Raiders really did some moves too to get Devonte Adams on them. We already heard about the Russell Wilson to the Broncos, so that division's getting fully loaded. And then the Chargers coming back another year here too with that squad. And then now the Chiefs lose this. Now, what does that do for them in that picture? Now the Chiefs don't look so sexy because they're number one now. It seems to be maybe, well, besides Travis Kelce's got to be their number one target, but he's not your wide receiver. So you're looking at, is it going to be Hardman or is it going to be Juju or something? So they're going to have to do something in the draft, you would think. And hell, they've got a lot of picks here if you look at it, buddy, because the Miami Dolphins went all in, and they basically said, the Chiefs like, hey, listen, we're listening. Make me an offer we can't refuse. And the Chiefs or the Dolphins are like, here, hold my beer. Here we go. And they did.
It was absolutely ridiculous. The amount of compensation that they got from the Dolphins was atrocious. I mean, honestly, Tyreek Hill is not the best receiver in the game today. It's Devonte Adams. And what did Devonte Adams go for? Just a first and a second round pick. So if you mean to tell me that you're willing to give up not just a first and a second, but also to go even further in a fourth round pick this year. And then on top of that, next year's draft, a fourth and a sixth. Holy shit, bro. You're going way out of range here. And are you that desperate? I don't think so. You look at this Dolphins team now, and now that they've acquired Tyreek Hill, they already had Jalen Waddle last year who had a sensational rookie season. And you team him up with a healthy Devontae Parker, and Preston Williams is coming back. And this team, which was once criticized of not having enough weapons, and you also, don't forget, Mike Gesicki, the tight end, huge weapon there too. Tua has no more excuses now. And you also, let's just put a cherry on top of this as well. Let's go with also signing the left tackle, Teron Armstead, to shore up that left tackle position that's been sorely needed to help protect Tua. Now, you look at that offense and you're like, well, Tua, this is on you now. Like, we need to see the production that the reason why you were drafted, the reason why you were brought in to be the franchise quarterback for the Dolphins. Now, there's no more excuses. You got all the weapons in the world at your disposal. Now let's see you put it on the football field this season. And then for the Chiefs, this is something that I feel like the Chiefs are going through a little bit of a change here. And it's not just offensively, but defensively. Think about Tyrann Mathieu and how important he is on that back end of that defense, now a free agent. What's to say that, maybe he comes back? You know what I mean? If he goes around and he does his tour and doesn't find anybody willing to pay him a lot of money or something like that, or the right fit, maybe he does come back on the cheap a little bit. But as of right now, he's torn. He's going to all different teams. He's talking. His agent's talking with teams. The Steelers, I know, are interested in him. He's talking with them. Apparently, the Raiders are also talking with him as well. So let's wait and see when the dust settles on Tyrann Mathieu where he's going to end up. But the Chiefs, listen, he is such an important part of that defensive backfield that I don't think I know Chiefs fans realize it, but the amount of playmaking ability he added to that team, and he would always get everybody in the right spots. Nobody was out of position with him as the captain back there. And now you take him away, and I understand that the Chiefs, in order to replace him, they brought in Justin Reed from the Houston Texans, and they're hoping that he can do kind of the same thing. However, different player. Not as experienced as Tyrann Mathieu. So, and a guy that can't do everything that Tyrann Mathieu did as a Chief. Guy that could play corner, also safety. You know what I mean? They mixed it up. So they're missing a big element in Tyrann Mathieu. And then offensively, when you take Tyreek Hill away, that was Patrick Mahomes' security blanket. That I understand Travis Kelce is his favorite target because it's real easy when the defense is all worried about Tyreek Hill deep, and then he's only 5 to 10 yards away from you, standing there wide open. You just dump it off to him and let Travis Kelce go. So now the spectrum, the horizon of this offense is going to change, I think, in a big way. Because, yes, you're right. They do have Mecole Hardman, who's going to probably step into that number one role and hope that of taking the top off a defense, and maybe he can be that big time threat that they once had in Tyreek Hill. However, he's not the same. Tyreek Hill could literally go from 0 to 60 in like 2 steps. That's what made him special.
Yeah.
Mecole Hardman is fast,
he's got speed,
but he doesn't have that twitch, that acceleration that Tyreek Hill does. So different player, which means that this offense is going to change. Juju, now that they added him, He's more of a number 2 possession type receiver, not a guy that's going to, go deep and beat people with his speed. He's going to beat you with his route running. And then you have Kels, obviously. So Mahomes and company, I feel like Andy Reid is going to go through a little bit of a change here with this offense and the defense as well for this Chiefs team. So I feel like this team is going to be different than what we are used to seeing on the football field. So let's see how it all transpires, but there's definitely changes, and good God, there's a boatload of changes across the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, that's one thing to look at with this team is what kind of effect it's going to have after the fact. But again, they've fully loaded in here with the picks from the Miami Dolphins. So, I mean, they should be able to do a whole lot with that. I want to give a shout-out to Terry Hiplo in the house.
What's going on,
tonight? Terry, he says the Colts are favorites for the Super Bowl.
Really?
Wow,
that just came in pretty quick, huh?
Congratulations. You played yourself.
Yeah, I don't. Maybe they could. They got a shot to do well in that division. I would say. I would start with that. We'll do baby steps here first. But he's a Colts fan. He's probably excited though. He's got to be because
super excited.
This is what they've been dealing with. If you looked at the memes or the charts that you've been seeing after this trade went down, since Andrew Luck, you went through a bunch of different quarterbacks trying to find that answer to get there, to get you, because you drafted a great offensive line. You had a nice a set of guys on defense too as well to get you. It seemed like you were on your way. The only thing you had to do was take care of the Tennessee Titans, and basically you had a spot. And despite everything, they even had a chance this season, and they couldn't do it, and they couldn't get into that playoffs. They had that one-game playoff, could not seal the deal. And now, after 1 year, Carson Wentz already gone, and now enter Matt Ryan. So that's gonna be different for them too. But we talked about this last week. What was a good fit for them? I know Mike Tackett was on with us. He had said stuff about Marcus Mariota for them possibly, or somebody, and Donald Spence was also, he joined the show with us, and he was just saying you just kind of need somebody that can just run the ball for you, or hand the ball to Jonathan Taylor rather, just somebody to be able to do that and not make mistakes. And Matt Ryan is more than that type of guy. He can kill you with his arm too. He's been a guy who's made it to many playoff games, and then even to the Super Bowl here, come just short of winning it for the Atlanta Falcons, in that famous 28-3 situation here. But a veteran brings him in a lot better than what you had with Carson Wentz. Probably your best thing since Andrew Luck when he was there. So I can tell why Colts fans are super excited. It's a great move for them. Mm-hmm. They got the running game. They've got the offense here. And the only thing is, too, now load him up with some weapons. You have Michael Pittman Jr. there still, but you do Tyreek Hill hits free agency. Tyreek Hill. T.Y. Hilton, he hits free agency. He's done. And you just got to get some new blood in there. I think possibly, too, as an addition, you might see Julio Jones come to this team as a late entry, just so, again, there's another guy that he trusts and he's comfortable with. Add on if they feel they need it or not. But, this team, this is it now. Now you've got to take care of the Tennessee Titans.
I feel like with the remaining receivers that are available in free agency that they could go ahead and, they could bring in Julio. But they need someone that's going to be there all the time. And that's the issue for Julio to even find another team right now is, one, he's not young anymore. He's mid-30s. I don't know what his exact age is, but I know he's mid-30s.
Right.
And on top of that, he isn't on the football field full time. It's almost like inevitable. He is going to get injured at some point during the season, and he's going to miss some time. He might not miss a lot, but he may as well. So that's always going through teams' minds as well when it comes to a guy like Julio Jones. And he would be a great addition for the Colts if he was able to be healthy for the long haul. So you're right. He's got you got the chemistry between Matt Ryan and Julio already, and it would work out really well. The other thing that's kind of interesting with this trade is they only had to give up a third-round pick for Matt Ryan. The Colts did. And this is going to be a team where he comes into, and they already have an established running back. They already have the best offensive line Matt Ryan will have ever played behind. An offensive line that's one of the best, that will protect him, that will obviously open up rushing lanes for the running back there in Jonathan Taylor. And it's only about, like you said, it's only about adding weapons at this point for this offense. The defense is already fairly young, is up and coming. They get they also, I know that they traded Rocky Sin for Yannick Ngakoue because they were looking for a pass rusher, and the Raiders and the Colts kind of found common ground in that. The other thing too is they're not far. The Colts are not far off from being a very competitive team and pushing the playoffs, possibly making the Super Bowl. But let me tell you something there, Terry. This AFC conference is going to be the most competitive yet this upcoming season. I mean, you look at all these AFC teams, even pulling talent from the NFC and bringing them over to the AFC to bolster their rosters to the point where it's making it out to be probably the toughest season that we've yet to see, the most competitive season. So it is rearing up to be something special for sure. I don't think there's going to be any disappointment in terms of, primetime games in the AFC or anything like that, because as much work and as much additions that teams are making to better themselves, they're in win now mode. It seems like almost every team is just ready to win now, and they're pulling out all the stops. So, Paul Matty, he comments right here. He says, "What's up from Play Linda Beach, Florida?" What's up, Paul? How you doing? Welcome to the show. He also says Julio Jones is going to be a buck. I don't know if that's going to happen, and I'll tell you why. Because they've already spent a lot of money. They have a lot of money in Mike Evans. They also have a lot of money now in Chris Godwin, and they were against the cap. Listen, they only had $3 million in cap space before they made the signings of Ryan Jensen to a 3-year deal. Chris Godwin, they made a 3-year deal.
Tom Brady came back.
So his money didn't come off the books. Instead of paying him $15, now it's going to be $20 million this year. So there are things that have transpired, and not to mention they've re-signed Leonard Fournette, as of yesterday or today. And then, so I'm just questioning like the NFL right now, because if the Buccaneers can make all these kind of signings, and they're not like super dirt cheap signings, when they had $3 million in cap space, I'm just kind of wondering, like, how are they affording all these people? Did they ever get underneath the cap? And like, how are they constructing these contracts to stay under the cap? So with all these crazy additions that they've managed to re-sign and keep this team kind of intact, I don't know if they even have enough cap room to bring in like a Julio Jones, or to bring in like maybe a Jarvis Landry or someone like that that's still out there, or an Odell Beckham. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure I don't think that they're going to spend money in a position where they don't need it. Julio Jones would be great. Yeah, team him up with Mike Evans. It's exciting to talk about. But I just I don't think business-wise it would be a smart move.
Right. Like you said, dealing with what they have to do, whether cut some money somewhere or just take the penalties. But they can't start hemorrhaging the money here and there. And that brings up to the question of, like, what's going on with Gronkowski then, too. Joe and I were talking about it off air before we got started. I mean, he's still floating around there in free agency, so he's probably debating whether he wants to walk away from the game or not. And hasn't decided on even looking into other teams, or we're not hearing a whole lot from his camp. And why hasn't he, since Tom Brady's come back, just said, hey, what the hell, I'll go back with the Bucs again. So it could be partially some of the money they try and spend to him. I know he's probably going to take a minimum, but still adding more players onto where they have already kind of spent their limit here and over that. That's a big problem, and some teams they're over and they got to deal with it. Paul Matty says Gronk will be back. Will it be the Bucs again? Who knows? It makes more sense.
I don't know.
It makes more sense there, but a lot of things that make sense don't exactly happen all the time. We've seen that with the last couple of days here and what's transpired with a lot of the different trades and stuff. And like, we're going back to Miami again. Now the pressure. You talk about pressure on Tua before. Now the pressure's got to be on this guy, right? Because he's got to perform, because if he doesn't, And because he's got the weapons around him now. At least he has Tyreek Hill. Mike Gesicki's back there. And look at the wide receiver room, Joe. If you look at that depth chart, they still have a lot of those wide receivers that they had last year all still there on the books. And including Preston Smith and others. But even their running back room is deep now, too. They brought in Raheem Mostert, and they also have Gaskins there. And there's one other guy they grabbed in there. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but a fully loaded team. So basically, Tua, there's been debate on whether he should be there or not. You got the Deshaun Watson story. They're going to trade for him. He's got to put up or shut up this time and stay healthy, because if he doesn't, you got Teddy Bridgewater on the other side there, too, behind you now. So they bring in him to be the solid backup here. Yeah, like you said, to be that insurance. So then you better step up and you better make the moves and you better get this team somewhere, because they're going all in on you, son, right now. And you got to stay healthy and get it done. But the insurance, not only to get a nice starter in there, I think Teddy Bridgewater, still, he showed a little bit what he could do last year with the Broncos, that if you give him these weapons too as well, like a Tyreek Hill, he can probably get you far into the playoffs as well. So, I mean, depending on what really they can do in this division is how far they can go, really. It's almost like the way, like I said, with the Colts. Colts have to really challenge those Tennessee Titans, because there's so many other teams that are just stacked right now. You have to take that division, because the wild card race is going to be nutty.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. We already kind of touched on all those receivers and everything. And it's Tua's time to shine. I mean, we've said this now a couple times, but
Paul Manny agrees right there. He says Tua's last year to prove he's the man.
It's his time. If he doesn't improve, he has to show improvement, because if he shows improvement, that means they're headed in the right direction, and they will continue to utilize Tua. But this is where, if he doesn't show improvement and the offense still kind of spits and sputters and struggles a little bit, and Tua struggles, then I think this might be the last year where you can kind of make a decision, be like, you know what, it didn't work out. Let's kind of, collect ourselves. Maybe we can move on from Tua. Maybe we can trade him to someone else, and try to either acquire a quarterback or wait for next year's draft.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You want to talk about spitting and sputtering, too. If he spits and sputters and can't do it, maybe it's because he needs raised energy, Joe. And he needs to go Tua needs to go, and all you guys, too, as well. Go to repsports.com and hit promo code RaiseEmUp. That's our promo code. You go in there, you get, I think, 10-15% off, or your free shipping. I know you get a discount over there. You save yourself like $5. So it's worth it. They have great flavors. Joe and I drink them all the time. They're sugar-free, and there's no added colorings and all that stuff. It's great. There's no crash. Gives you the energy you need. Raise energy. We love those guys.
Well, unlike any other energy drink, though, they got amino acids. They got vitamins in there. It's one of the very few, if not the only, energy drink that I've had where I didn't feel laggy after the effects wore off, or
because it hydrates too as well. It's not just straight energy.
It's a great pre-workout, like to get you ramped up and ready for your workout, or to get ready for the day or anything like that. When you need some energy, Raise Energy is the way to go. So make sure you enter that promo code RaiseEmUp.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The other big story, again, it's now overshadowed a little bit by some of the news that's happened the last, today, and then the Matt Ryan story here. But we've got Deshaun Watson finds a new home after all the stuff, and with the court case and things like that. He still has the civil cases he needs to deal with, each individual case. But now he is a Cleveland Brown. And there's a lot of stuff going on in Cleveland, especially now that Baker Mayfield, again, after all this is going on, and this is the funny thing about this. Teams feel it's kind of like that significant other, that boyfriend or girlfriend that feels that they can always do better. They're that much better than you that they can openly look for other options in front of you, and act like you don't see this happening. And they continually just go around and do this, and you're like, wow, dude, I can't believe you're even doing this and stuff like that to me, blah, blah, blah. And then when all of a sudden it kind of falls through, they're like, oh, well, hey, but I still love you, though. And you're kind of like, no, dude, I'm not taking this anymore. And that's what's happened with Baker Mayfield. it was open out there that the Cleveland Browns were going in for Deshaun Watson and things like that. And then when it seemed like, we heard that they were out of the talks and it was between the Falcons and or the Saints or something like that. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Cleveland powers back and boom, there the trade happened. Now you've got Deshaun Watson and Baker Mayfield. He's like, I'm demanding a trade. I don't want here now. You went and got this guy openly in front of me. Now you replace me. I want out. I want to go be able to start somewhere. And the Browns say, no, I don't think so. So what the hell? It's you're kind of like, what? You won't let me go now? You just wanted me to leave. And now you're telling me no, but you want me to stay still. Like, what the hell is going on there with Cleveland? But you know what? They get their guy, and they also get a junk 6th-round pick along with it. And all they gave up was a 2022 first, a 4th, 2023 a 3rd, and a 24th. They changed it today. It went through. It changed that 4th in the 2024 was a 6th, and now it's moved to a 4th-round pick. So that's changed with the deal right there so far. But they go and get their guy there, and now Cleveland Browns fans are excited. They think they're going all the way for the Super Bowl now, Joe. What do you think about this trade?
Well, I think a lot of that whole kind of residual bad feeling, like you tried to move on from me, but now you're coming back to me type of thing. That's anybody that was in for Deshaun Watson had to deal with that except for the Saints, because the Saints didn't have a quarterback. You know what I mean? When Winston was still out there in free agency, so there was no hard feelings. But guys like Matt Ryan, who they were trying to get Deshaun Watson, you know what I mean? And Baker Mayfield, now that they acquired him, Baker Mayfield feels a certain way, and rightfully so. I mean, listen, he thought he was going to be the starting quarterback coming into the season, and then to hear rumors start to circle around, and you're like, this can't be true. There's no way. I'm still the guy, right? No. That's done now, Baker. And this goes to show you as well, just like with a lot of the frustrations that the Browns fans have had with Baker Mayfield at times. He's shown flashes of being good, and then he kind of destroys it and ends up losing you the game. So the Cleveland Browns organization and their front office, they're fed up. They're done. They've seen enough from him, and they know now that Baker's not the guy. They need to go find the right guy. So they were lucky enough that Watson was available. I mean, let's just say that. Like, I understand if you go back a year when Watson kind of made his statement, like, I don't want to play for Houston anymore. I want out. I want to be traded. Then the whole court thing happened, which I'm sorry, Jim, but did you think it was a little fishy that happened? Because what was interesting is the timing of all this is Watson demands he wants to be traded. He does not want to be there. And then right after that declaration, about a week or so after, all of a sudden now there's allegations against him. So don't know if it's made up or not. I mean, the 22 alleged women that said they were, taken advantage of in some way by Deshaun, that's thrown out the window. Criminal courts threw it right out the window. Said nope, there's no evidence saying this. You don't have enough to go off of, and they're done with it. So they're moving on. Now there's still civil cases. There's a couple, I think, civil suits that he still has to go through, but those are civil cases. So he's already proven his innocence in my eyes, and now it's time to move on. And the Browns go out and they acquire Deshaun Watson. And let's just say this. Remember when we were talking about the teams that were interested in him, Panthers and the Browns and the Falcons, and the Saints? We kind of predicted them to go to Cleveland. We thought that this was the best team for him to move into, and he can win with this team. Team's got a good defense already, got a solid offensive line, and you got two hell of a running backs behind you. Now it's just build outside. It's adds some more talent, and this is the perfect draft to do it. There is a ton, and I mean every shape, size, speed, anything, any kind of flavor you want in a wide receiver, it's available in this draft. So they could really, really kind of make a big difference here for Deshaun Watson, and this team could really kind of what we thought last year, like, wow, they're tripping over their feet and not going to get nowhere. Now that they add Deshaun Watson, this lifts the whole organization, and they could very quickly turn around this offseason and be ready to kind of maybe take over this division once again.
And you bring about the court case. I was not surprised that it was all of a sudden just is dropped because they again deem lack of evidence, which could have, and it drops the criminal case. That's what you see a lot of times in these sort of issues. Now it brings up the civil. They'd rather take those on, because it's just civil court. They can settle, do whatever they got to do. And now you're hearing some of the stories, and none of them are really conflicting. It's a little they're all pretty similar, and these women don't even know each other. There's some, they're so it's all separate, different things. And if they're all saying similar things and like graphic, I've heard graphic things that have happened or allegedly happened, if you want to say that. So that's one thing you still have to look about with this, that he could face just losing game time, game checks, and this the offer that he got here, his contract, is actually set up that way to help him in that. His first year, I think he only makes like $1 million. They have it set up. It's very low, so that if he loses game checks, it's not a whole lot. He's actually not losing a whole lot of money here that way. So that it's not killing them for paying him that way. He's not getting fined that much in a sense.
They also protected themselves in that in that deal, because if he does happen to get into trouble again, they can get out of this contract. They could move on from him. So it's a deal that works both ways for the player and the team.
Right. I mean, and that's the thing too. What will happen with this team now too? And that's why I think they decided to hang on to Baker Mayfield as well. What if he does get some of that suspension time? What better way to fill him in than a guy that's already there, already knows the offense? Unfortunately, for you, though, you thought he wasn't good enough to even be there anymore, but that's what it is. They're being selfish about the situation. Just in case, more insurance. If you don't have Deshaun Watson because of some kind of suspension, you have Baker Mayfield there still, and he's upset about everything. So that we're waiting to see what happens with that and how that falls out. But that is the Cleveland Browns covering themselves and doing that to make sure that that's what they have and they can still move forward despite him being gone. But you would have thought they would have, if you did think that, because they let Case Keenum go, though, too. And he goes to the Buffalo Bills to back up Josh Allen.
Well, they traded him to the Bills.
Yeah, why couldn't you just keep him around, though? I mean, that would have been nice there, too. And then maybe
here's the thing.
Trade him to Baker to somebody else then.
Is Case Keenum was only getting paid $6 million to be the backup quarterback for the Browns, right? Case Keenum, I'm sorry, we're just going to say Case Keenum is a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is making $18 million this year. Why on God's earth would you trade away a guy who's making $6 million as a backup, who's better than Baker, away, and try to keep Baker as your backup and pay him $18 million? Because here's the deal, is this is what's going to end up happening, because I'm not sure people remember how crazy Baker can get. He does not want to play for this organization. He does not want to be a backup to Deshaun Watson, who they just acquired. So he's going to push the issue. And I feel like for a team that may be interested, maybe Seattle, because they still don't have a quarterback, they could also go the Jimmy G route if they want to trade for a quarterback there too. But here's what has to happen in order to move on from Baker is they got to redo his contract. They got to restructure it in a way to where now it's only an $8 or $9 million cap hit. And if they can do that, then that's going to make him more, interesting to teams that maybe want to bring him in, even if it is as a backup, or to bring him in for quarterback competition, maybe try to win the job elsewhere. Like, look at the Panthers right now. The Panthers were interested in Deshaun Watson. They wanted Deshaun Watson, so they clearly think that Sam Darnold is good enough, but now he's coming from injury, and they're not really sure how he's going to play going forward. Maybe we bring in some extra competition. What if the Panthers were to maybe get a trade done and bring over Baker Mayfield to have a real quarterback, contest, the sweepstakes there? Who can win the starting job? And then also draft one on top of it to really make it interesting. So a lot of things can happen, and I think that there's no way, I just can't fathom it. There's no way that Baker is going to sit there and just be okay with being the backup. He's going to want out of Cleveland. Cleveland is going to have to eventually come to terms with it and just say, listen, we screwed up. Why did we trade away Case Keenum? Case Keenum would have been fine. He would have been fine just sitting there as a backup behind Deshaun Watson. But you traded the wrong guy away. You should have traded Baker. And instead, you traded Case. So this organization right now, they are better off with Watson, no doubt about it. But I feel like they made a critical mistake in not trying to get rid of Baker.
We got Jim Radley's in the house with us tonight. Watching with us on YouTube. Awesome,
What's going
man.
on,
It's a
Jim?
pleasure having you with us tonight.
Welcome
man.
to the show, brother.
He's probably excited. He's a Denver Broncos fan. He has Russell
he?
Wilson over there now, so he's probably super excited for that.
Good for you. Get ready to get sacked.
Yeah, he's used to getting hit all the time and getting knocked to the ground. But yeah, that's where they kind of messed up on this. And the problem is with this too is now you're not going to get it. If you tried to trade Baker Mayfield before, you could have maybe got some value for it. Now he's upset. He doesn't want to be there.
I mean, it
You
would have
guys
been
already tried to
would have
move
been
on
low.
from him, but I think there's already been an offer in for Baker Mayfield, and it was like hot garbage. I forget what it was, but it was like literally nothing.
Yeah,
Like,
you're not
nobody
gonna-
wants to give you anything. So
No,
then you're looking
there's
at
no value.
yourself. They don't want to force themselves to release him because that's what usually happens when you can't get the trades going out there. Nobody wants to buy in on this. What and is they don't want to be there.
It's
is
too big of a
release it
cap hit.
and go
They
away
can't
from it.
release him.
And that's the problem. So you're going to have him on the sidelines. And let me tell you, this goes through like this and plays out throughout the season. You're going to see the cameras on the sidelines a lot more on the game than they normally would have been, I think, for the Cleveland Browns. And watching Baker Mayfield on the sidelines, see how he reacts and sitting there with the clipboard and
Yeah, I don't see it.
and
I don't
stuff
see
like
it.
that. So I think it would be hilarious. But yeah, so that's some of the big news that's happened now, the bigger trades throughout the offseason right now. Jim, seeing you're there with us, we are one of the most interactive talk shows here on Facebook and YouTube and in the internet alone. Tell us about your guys' teams, free agency, the moves that you've made. Let us know. Shout out there. Rep your team. We know a bunch of you guys already who you like. Paul Matty's out there. He likes the Bucks. He also supports, I think, the Jacksonville Jaguars down there in Florida. But Jim Radley is a Broncos fan. Terry was already there talking about his Colts. He's super hyped. Jim, what do you think about the Broncos and the expectations with them? Even though you got rid of Noah Fant and some other compensation as well to get Russell Wilson, do you still think you have enough to get to challenge this division? That's going to be tough, especially with the additions that Joe's Raiders here. We didn't get to talk about that yet. We're going to talk about that pretty soon with Devonte Adams here. Now they're going in a lot with these guys. They go to talk to Derek Carr too about restructuring his contract too to make sure everything's good moving forward. And man, that AFC West is pretty exciting to watch moving forward.
I tell you, one of the most competitive divisions there's going to be this year.
It's the Wild West.
It
baby.
is.
You can call it the Wild West all
It
day.
is packed now, and it's funny because you look at that. You look at all four of those teams, and what did they do? They all built their rosters to combat each other. I mean, look at when you got duo pass rushers. The Chargers, they trade for Khalil Mack, bring him in to team him up with Joey Bosa. The Raiders, they end up signing Chandler frickin' Jones to go team him up with Max Crosby. And then you look at the Broncos with Bradley Chubb and I forget who they added for the other side there. Was it Randy Gregory? I think it was Randy Gregory.
Randy Gregory, yep.
So, you got two pass rushers there. So it seems like everybody's gearing up. Wherever there was a weakness, now is a strength. And wow, I mean, the games are going to be epic. That's for sure. You got a lot of changes. You got Russell Wilson coming into the division for the Broncos, and a lot is going to be unpredictable. We'll say that's what's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of unpredictability throughout this season for a lot of teams because there are so many changes. And then you talk about coaching changes. That's also something that's got to be kind of brought up because the Dolphins went through a coaching change and a GM change. And now it's like Mike McDaniels is the head coach down there, a young offensive coordinator from the 49ers. So let's see what he can do with Tua. And he says he can win with him. I mean, he said that he could. He wanted to keep Tua. He wanted him to be his quarterback. So let's see what he can do with him. Now there's no excuse on lack of weapons. There's no excuse on not a better offensive line being upgraded because they got Teron Armstead now, and along with those youthful pieces up front. So there's a lot to like it with the Dolphins if you're a fan of them because things are looking up. Let's just see if, again, new offense that Tua's got to learn. So let's see how fast he can get through the playbook. And just like anybody else, but wow, there's a lot of big time trades, a lot of free signings that we didn't expect, players going to different teams. Just like you mentioned, Rob Gronkowski's still out there.
Mm-hmm.
We thought for sure as soon as Brady came back, the very next day or two, he was going to sign back, but he's still out there. So very interesting things that are still happening too, in terms of free agents that are still available.
All right, we got Cody Raptor in the house with us tonight.
What's going on, Cody?
He's a know-it-all.
Welcome to the show, bro.
I think it's Steven Scholar is in the house with us tonight, too, as well. I think that's how it's pronounced.
What's going on, Steve?
If I'm messing it up, I'm sorry. Panthers have signed a lot of low-key good free agents so far, he says. Yeah, if you're looking at a few here, he's got Xavier Woods out there, Austin Corbett, Brandon Zylstra, and Donta Foreman right there, too.
And you think about the re-signing of Dante Jackson, who I was kind of surprised that he was even a free agent. So it's a good deal that they got him back in that defense.
And they're trying to retool, too, in this division to where I think they feel they can still be competitive if everybody stays healthy, too. That's a lot of the problems that they had last year, including their quarterback situation with health. And even when he came back, I think he came back a little bit too early, and that's when they had problems, too, as well. Wasn't able to connect like he was the previous season when he was reunited. Like I said, this division, though, is having issues, though. And I think that's why partially Tom Brady might have even started to come back, though, because he's looking at the Atlanta Falcons and, they don't really have much, and who knows what could go on. These guys were looking at the Deshaun Watson trade, too, as well. And then you got the Saints, who basically just went back and settled on Jameis Winston last minute. So he's like, looking at his chops, he's like, hell, honey, hey, do you mind if I go back one more season? I mean, it's right there. Come on. I can do this. I'm going to take the division easy.
But
and then basically you just got to ride the playoffs out.
But that's what you saw happening. As soon as the Deshaun Watson trade went through, everybody was scrambling to get their quarterbacks, either their old quarterbacks or bringing a new quarterback. The Falcons brought in Marcus Mariota. The Saints re-signed Jameis Winston. You know what I mean? That's just the domino effect that took place. And you got one pissed off Baker Mayfield in Cleveland. So, but yeah, I mean, and it doesn't stop there. He also said Bradley Bosman, from the center from the Ravens, really good center. It's a great addition for you guys to have him as your captain of the offensive line. He said Miles Jack from Jacksonville. Did he sign with the Panthers?
Think he signed with the Panthers.
I thought he signed with
he went with the Steelers, didn't he?
Yeah,
the Steelers.
Yeah, the Steelers.
Right?
Yeah, that's where it was.
The Steelers.
Yeah, he's teamed up with Deion Bush.
But he's a good linebacker, like he says.
Really
that's
good.
absolutely true. And Paul Matty, he's back. He must have got kicked
back,
off
Paul.
or something.
Welcome back.
Yep, we missed you already, Paul.
That's right.
It's a pleasure having you with us. We missed you last week. It would have been awesome having you on there. We're talking with Mike Tackett was on with us, too, one of our favorite know-it-alls, one of the OG original know-it-alls.
Yeah, and the other thing, too, is like you see some of these Steve talks about the sleeper type signings, that these are good players that come in and they're going to actually enhance your team. Here's a sleeper trade. The Rams moved on from Robert Woods, and the Titans acquired him for only a 6th round pick. Basically nothing. And you got yourself a veteran wide receiver that can come in and help out a guy like Ryan Tannehill and A.J. Brown. So kudos to them on that trade. That was a really good trade. It's only a 6th rounder.
Sorry, I'm looking something
Distracted.
Paul Matty here. He's got a question. Why don't you see what he's got?
Do you think Urban Meyer knows who any of these guys are? No, he absolutely does not. He actually has said that he had no idea who Aaron Donald was. How do you not know who Aaron Donald was? He's only the best defensive player in the league. You know what I mean? No, I never heard of him. What position does he play? I'm not really familiar. Yeah, okay, Urban. That's why you're fired. Get out. Just get out. That should have been the interview process for Urban Meyer. But like, hey, can you name more than 2 NFL studs? No. All right, get out.
Well, yeah, I knew that wasn't going to work out at first when they first got him here. I don't know. Sorry, I was looking up that Carolina thing, but maybe he's talking about C.J. Henderson. I'm not sure. All right, Steven, he says Damian Wilson is his name. There you go, Damian Wilson. There you go. Yeah, I mean,
the corner.
Yeah. That's why I get all screwed up. But But yeah, I mean, a lot of different things, and there's different guys too that can fall into place now as well. Because now you see what happened with Deshaun Watson. He's over there with the Browns. Yes, they have Amari Cooper now there too. They tagged David Njoku. They have Diamond Peoples-Jones on the other side though too. But everybody's looking at maybe another weapon. Do they do it in the draft?
Yes.
Some people have even talked about this. Is funny because they're like, well, maybe Odell would be interested in coming back down to Cleveland now that, they got a different quarterback. So maybe bring Odell Beckham Jr. on the other side of Amari Cooper.
The funny thing is, now that you mention that, Odell did come out and said that he would be open to
He'd be
returning
open
to
to it
Cleveland.
now, right?
You want to know why? Because it's a really good
It's
quarterback.
a really good quarterback. Exactly. He's going to be chasing it, right? Urban was an embarrassment to the Jags. Yeah, he was.
I would say embarrassment to everything.
Everything. Himself, everybody. You know what I mean? Right? I mean,
He should have never came to the
embarrassed
NFL.
Ohio State and things like that. That's why he was gone, and that's why he was open for these gigs. And it looked worse. It was terrible. You know what I mean? Oh, my goodness. But it's funny because apparently, Tim Tebow did well in his offense in college, but you get, Trevor Lawrence, and he looks terrible in that offense somehow. What the hell did you do? You know what I'm saying? But now Jacksonville, I'll tell you, they're making moves. They're making moves. They're trying to get some guys there, too. We'll see what happens. Like Mike Tackett said, though, 6-11 never looked so gorgeous, or whatever he said last week, or something
Yeah,
like so
right.
sexy.
Yeah.
Oh man, he had the great one-liners last week. But yeah, you're seeing things like that fall into place. We looked at Miami and said, "Wow, look at all the wide receivers that they had." I talked to Cody Raptor about this. He said, again, look at the weapons they have at wide receiver, the running backs too as well. Let's look at where they're maybe lacking, maybe just linebacker a little bit, and then. Do you get a guy in that type of defense, Jadeveon Clowney on the cheap? Does he join in? And that way you're not spending a whole lot either. Put him in on that defense too. He can help get some more pass rush for them. At least get some pressure. Not exactly, divvy up in sacks, but little pieces like that to make it work. You're seeing they gave up so much draft, equity to do it, to pull off this trade.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing too, that's going to be a tough sell. Is Jadeveon Clowney to any team because, he can create pressure, but he doesn't really have a lot of production. For being the number 1 overall draft pick, he's really not showing up. He hasn't shown up his whole entire career, and I don't think he's going to start now. Listen, don't get me wrong. I think he's really good against the run. I think he's good at creating pressure, but that's about it. So unless you want to add him as, even a rotational piece, to rush. That's the other thing too, is he fits a certain niche. I don't see him as a 4-3 end. He can play it, but I don't see him I see him more, definitely a better player when he's standing up and rushing off the edge in a 3-4 stance. So I mean, it's going to take a certain team to sign him. And you know what? We haven't heard anything about him having negotiations, even talking to teams, even taking visits. So I don't see him signing anytime soon. And he will sign somewhere. It's got to be the right fit. And it's probably going to be a little bit, a few days later. It could even possibly be after the draft.
Right.
When teams have filled in some spots through the draft, and they're like, hey, you know what? Let's revisit
with him with the Cleveland Browns. So again, if things fall into place too with them, maybe even they decide last minute, like, well, he knows, the defense right now would just bring him back quick, whatever.
And the Browns have also expressed interest in re-signing Jarvis Landry. Do you think Landry would want to come back now? Maybe.
Yeah. Oh, man. Steven, he's got a question here. He says, who's going to be the best QB from this draft?
Oh, Jesus. There's way too much that has to go on. I mean, we even haven't hit any the tip of the iceberg yet with all these quarterbacks. They still are being evaluated. We're still looking at them. We're still looking at game tape on them. So I'll give you a decision later, Steve, when we do our draft special.
Right.
And I'll give you our top. For quarterbacks, did we do top 5 or top 10? I think top 5
Yeah,
I think that's
so,
what we did for
somewhere around there,
quarterbacks.
Yeah,
because there's not a whole lot.
Yeah, and we do a lot of that in upcoming into the draft. Pretty soon, we're going to be doing our 2019 3-year look, at
Review.
the draft, a review. And that's everybody knows that's a golden rule here.
3
After
years.
the draft, you see 3 years later to really kind of get an idea, a gauge of what you really had here, what they are. Like Steven's trying to say, who's the best one? We have opinions of what we think. You know, I like certain things about certain guys. Like, hell, Malik, you saw his arm the other day in his pro day.
Great arm.
Amazing, right?
But needs a lot of development, and he's got fantastic mobility.
And it isn't until you see their playing time and they get a few years. That's why we do our 3-year here. So look for that in the upcoming weeks here. We're going to do that special. That's a whole lot of fun where we go through the first round, all their picks, and we give a grade on how they really did, how well they did, pass or fail. So it's going to be a lot of fun looking into that. And our draft special, like you said, too, we look at the quarterbacks, different other key spots. We'll talk to some guests, too, as well. And we're getting a live show put together, too, amongst Godzilla Media, 2 members. We are a member of Godzilla Media, in case you guys did not know. We're going to be live in location somewhere around here in the upstate New York, Albany area. We'll keep you guys posted about that, too. Probably even on draft night. So if you guys are looking for someplace to go, and you're able to go somewhere now because COVID is kind of
finally
a little bit. You guys are looking to go out somewhere and watch the draft amongst other people and peers and have some beers and stuff like that.
Come on and have some fun.
We're going to let you know where we're going to be, and come check us out and have some fun, and we'll shake hands and meet you guys face to face and stuff. It's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. Paul Matty says, tough question, Steven. Yeah, exactly.
It's a tough question, but we will get to that, as we get closer to the draft. We're going to have our draft special, and we'll be talking about the different positions and who we feel is, our rank. We'll have our own ranking system. I mean, we don't always get it right, for sure. Listen, I've completely bombed on someone that I thought was going to be great, or thought that was going to develop into being someone great, and they're a bust. So it happens, and that's why they say the draft is a crapshoot, because it literally is. It
is. Paul Banks, the draft night show special. Cool, I'll be there. Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Man.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. You can't be there like in person, but yeah, you definitely join in on the show with us. And by the way, talk about being in person with you guys. We are streaming on Facebook and YouTube, and Godzilla Media's YouTube as well. But if you don't, get on the social media stuff and watch the videos, we are also on podcasts. So if you miss our live show, you can always listen to us on Spotify and Google Plays, I think, or something, the Google podcasts. Things like that, too. All the podcast places you can listen to them, we're on there. So just search Football on the No Show. We'll pop up, or Godzilla Media. We'll see us there. And pop us into your headphones and listen to us on the go, man. That's where we started with this whole show. That's why we are Football on the No, because we are on the go as well. You can't just sit there and watch us through the live shows. Take us with you wherever you want to go and become a know-it-all.
The only thing you can't do is you can't see our beautiful faces.
So no, that's the one bad thing. We were meant for TV, Joe.
Yeah, we really were.
We really were. I can't help it. But Paul Matty says you can find Mr. on OnlyFans.com.
All right.
Okay.
Interesting.
I don't know who Mr. is, but what does that mean? What is that? Am I looking for my Mr. Right on OnlyFans? What is that?
Paul, is that your OnlyFans you're trying to promote?
Yeah, maybe he is. Maybe he thinks we should get an OnlyFans together. Who knows? But Joe, let's tell everybody about, we got the sponsorship reel going on over here. Why don't you tell everybody about our friends here at Johnstone Supply, who's been a big supporting member of our show, Johnstone Supply. He says you can find me on OnlyFans. I don't think so. I don't think I want to, but thank you, Paul. I appreciate it.
Having technical difficulties over here.
Oh, you are? Well, our friends at Johnstone Supply, they're in Troy, New York. And let me tell you, it's springtime, right? And nothing's better than spring. It's getting warmer. And now you don't have to think about heating your house anymore in Johnstone Supply. You can talk about shutting that furnace down and getting your AC unit going. You know what I mean? Time to cool it down. Think about the weather, and you're going to be in the pool and all that stuff, and the sunshine. Johnstone Supply in Troy, they've got the latest and greatest things in Milwaukee tools as well. They got the lowest price in Milwaukee tools. I know you guys out there doing your projects and things out there too as well. Forget Home Depot and all the other crap and stuff like that. So if you go and check your AC2 units and things like that, get that going for your house, cool your house, and you can get great tools at a great price, go down to Johnstone Supply in Troy. I don't remember their phone number right now. Joe,
518-272-5922.
Say it again, Joe.
That's 518-272-5922.
There you go. OregonJohnstoneSupply.com, I think. All right, excellent. Sorry, I don't usually do that read, so I tried my best. But yeah, what other things you guys thinking about there? We'll get the free agency list out there. Who's available? Where do you think the ball's going to drop next? We talked about Tyrann Mathieu now is talking to some different teams. Bobby Wagner now too as well. Seems like he's closer to a deal, possibly. But
no, he's not closer to a deal. He's going to visit the Rams.
But who knows? Those have been one of those teams that, again, one, they don't care about the salary cap as well, but they'll go and grab one of those veterans that's still serviceable, and the veterans want to go there to try and chase a ring one last time too as well. We saw what they did with Von Miller there.
They don't have the track record that the Patriots used to have, or have a Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. So I think because they won once, I don't think they're all going to be flocking to the Rams. I think it's interesting. Mm-hmm. It's definitely a spot that if you're a veteran that you say, hey, they still have Stafford. They gave him an extension. They locked him in. They have a nucleus of really good talent. Mm-hmm. They could make another run to the Super Bowl, and they're in the NFC, where it's a little bit easier of a path to get there. So,
and they get to play the Seahawks too twice a year.
So Bobby Wagner is taking a visit out there. Yeah. There's mutual interest there. Let's just see if they can come to terms on a contract, because that was an issue for Von Miller. Von Miller, they weren't going to be able to. They weren't going to be able to pay him the kind of money that he was probably looking for, and that's why you saw the blockbuster signing of Von Miller to the Buffalo Bills, because that's where the money was. So he ends up going to Buffalo. And then for Bobby Wagner, I'm not 100% sure what obviously he wants to make another run and win another chip, but I don't know what kind of money he's looking for. And the Rams aren't one of those teams that have deep pockets right now. And they're still trying to work on Aaron Donald to bring him back. So how much does that affect their ability to sign other players? So Bobby Wagner's taking a visit nonetheless. Let's see what happens with that. Maybe they sign him tomorrow. And maybe he also just walks out of the facility and goes to the next visit.
Paul Matty says, any USFL thoughts for next month?
No,
I don't.
You know something is, I saw on Twitter the USFL kind of posting the rules, like the rule book and stuff like that. Once in a while, they were posting a different rule or whatever, and it seems like they're kind of they got like a mixture of like NFL rules and college rules kind of put together in a sense. So it'll make the game a little bit more interesting because it's going to be not the same. It's going to be a little bit different.
Was it them or was it the XFL that partnered with the NFL and said they're going to be changing different rules?
That's the XFL.
And stuff like XFL done that? I was going to say because it was something
like that.
That's
The Rock in the XFL.
That's what I thought. It was The Rock because it makes more sense because he was there at the Super Bowl and they've got a relationship now.
To be honest with you, Paul, USFL, I don't know. I don't know much about the USFL just yet. Haven't had an opportunity to really kind of dive into that league. I know there's other podcasters and other YouTubers out there that are going to kind of exclusively cover USFL.
Right.
And it's just not in our repertoire.
Right.
I don't want to
Our
branch
guy,
out.
Mike Tackett's the guy on that too. He follows that stuff too. So whatever information we do get, it's probably going to be from him. And
he's
the
going to
thing
drop
is
it right
too,
here
it's
on our
like,
show.
yeah, I mean, it's new to me. I'm one of those people too. I'm like focusing on the outside. I'll take a gander as it starts. A lot of those new leagues have kind of folded up and stuff like that. So I don't put too much into them either. I see the stories that might happen. Like we saw PJ Walker was lighting it up. Oh, blah, maybe get an NFL job. And now look, he's not in the NFL and stuff like that and stuff too. So some of those guys are going to fall back into something like this. We saw a few of our Arena League type of players, stuff like that, and our buddy Jeremiah Spicer too, go in for this draft to be part of the USFL too as well. So it's storylines for those type of guys too to try and get to another deeper echelon here, a different type of professional football league. So those are the stories I really like about that, and I'm interested to see how it is from the outside looking in. I don't really follow a whole lot with it, but I'm excited to see it. Interested to see what happens, how it transpires, some of the new rules, whether I like them or not, or whether we should move it into the NFL or not. That's something interesting too as well. There's a lot of different storylines here with those different leagues to watch. I didn't really follow Arena League a lot, especially because we lost our Arena League team a long time ago with the Albany what were they? The
Conquest
Firebirds, right?
or
No,
Firebirds.
Army Firebirds, and then they had the Conquest for a little bit, and again that league fizzled out. But since the Empire's come back in, and we were able to go to some games last year in the playoffs too, yeah, I was super excited, and now I'm more into it and stuff. So I mean, I think for me, I need to kind of ease into it a little bit. Steven, he says, do you guys think Jimmy G gets traded, giving the keys to Trey?
Yes,
that's
I
still
do.
out there too, and that's the thing too. That's like kind of quieted down. That talk about the Jimmy G, still to be traded, whatever. Where's he gonna go? That's kind of simmered down a little bit too, but it makes sense. But where does he go again? Because you're here to talks about
Seattle.
Baker Mayfield. Well, I know, but you're talking about Seattle with Baker Mayfield. Is he going to go there? If not, what's going on with that? So then you got to look at Jimmy G then. So Jimmy G, go there. But is Seattle looking at it as, well, this is our bridge guy right now, and then we're going to find our guy down the road? Or is Pete Carroll and these guys going to be able to make something work with Jimmy G and really I don't know, just put a decent team together here?
You won't know that until you get him in the building, until he learns your offense, until he actually performs for you. So it's hard to kind of project and say, oh, yeah, he's going to be really good with Seattle.
Paul
or
says he used to coach
he's
arena
going to be
football.
terrible. That's cool.
That's cool. Hell yeah, man.
Whereabouts did you coach arena football?
Yeah. He's like, it's grass basketball, but it's turf, isn't it? It's not even grass, though, right? It's cool, though.
But,
I tell you, being on those fields, it's awesome.
But I think with Jimmy G, I think it's an interesting thing is now that you've seen the kind of like the quarterback market dry up, because now teams have kind of moved on. They handpicked whoever was available after the Watson trade went down. Then you saw all those holes getting filled. Winston went back to the Saints. Marcus Mariota goes to the Falcons. You know what I mean? That type of deal. And now Seattle is still sitting there. What are they waiting for? Because you need a quarterback. Listen, their backup from last year, Geno Smith, he's still a free agent. Mm-hmm. So maybe they go on the cheap and bring Geno Smith back because he already knows the offense, and he could be the stopgap type of guy. I know it's kind of laughable because he's not that good, but he knows the offense already. So maybe bring him back and someone else. Do they want to even do a trade and give up some draft picks? Now, Jimmy G's not going to cost you hardly anything. Either is Baker Mayfield if they redo his contract to make it more cap-friendly. The same thing could be done with Jimmy G as well. So to make them more appealing, they could restructure their deals if they start talking to these teams and saying, hey, you're interested in Jimmy G? Okay, well, this is what we're going to do. We're only going to ask for a fifth-round pick from you, and in turn, we're going to restructure his deal to make it a lower cap number. Good with that? Okay, cool. Let's make it happen, and then send the paperwork to the NFL. That could still happen for Seattle. They could decide to trade for one of these guys, whether it be a Baker Mayfield or Jimmy G, but that's really it. Unless they want to dive into the free agency cesspool and try to grab maybe a Geno Smith or an Andy Dalton or player to be named later.
Well, the three in the free agency top 100 now that are left from that, you got, like you said, Andy Dalton, you've got Cam Newton, and Ryan Fitzpatrick. That's right there still. So do you do something like that in Andy Dalton like that instead of trying to make a trade? Is Andy Dalton maybe, if you're looking for bridge quarterback, he's shown that he can handle your team if that's what his job is just going to do. It's not like he was absolutely horrible, I think, for the Bears, and he had that time with the Dallas Cowboys. It wasn't completely bad either.
The thing that this is the problem though too. The reason why Russell Wilson wanted out,
right?
He didn't see them improving the offensive line and improving everything around him to make it a championship caliber team. So, and that's what he wants to do, win another Super Bowl. That's the goal. It should always be, and that's why he wanted out and he got out. Now, whoever you bring in, they better have some kind of wheels on them, because Russell Wilson could run a 4.340, fast, mobile quarterback, and he was still getting hit. So you bring in anybody else like a Jimmy G or a Baker Mayfield, you don't want these guys to run around all day and get hammered. So hopefully Seattle has a plan in place to improve this offensive line, whether that be going into the draft and drafting more offensive linemen, or there's still talent out there right now that they could sign in free agency to help, alleviate those issues. But we got to see action. And so far we haven't seen much action. Listen, they've only signed, I want to say, like even 4 or 5 free agents, and a couple of them are their own. Like they just re-signed they signed Quentin Jefferson back at D tackle, which is going to help. You know, they got Rashad Penny back. You know what I mean? But
yeah, now they're saying, you know, DK Metcalf, that's going to be a crucial thing they have to do is settle his contract.
The other big, now there's another hole, though, at left tackle because Dwayne Brown is now a free agent, and he's 36 years old. So do you plan on bringing him back, like, to even as a stopgap guy? So they are going through a lot right now, and quite honestly, it's a rebuild. That's really what it is. Once they decided to trade Russell Wilson away, that's it. They hit the rebuild button. We're just gonna flush everything down the toilet. We're gonna start over. We're gonna try to bring in whatever players we can, and then draft. And maybe they like a certain guy like a Willis, you know, a guy that's mobile or whatever. Can they get him? That's the other thing. Like, are they going to be able to draft him, or is it a team ahead of them that might take him? So there is a lot that's going on with Seattle. I don't think they have an answer really yet. Obviously, they don't. You know what I mean? Because you would think if they had a game plan in place that you would start to see some other moves than just a D tackle or a running back or something like that. So I don't know what their mindset is. And this kind of also this is where you can kind of read between the lines here on Pete Carroll being the head coach. Russell Wilson and him kind of had a little bit of friction. At least that's what was reported. And then he ends up getting traded away. Bobby Wagner, they move on from him because of salary cap reasons, but maybe Bobby is thrilled that he got cut because the writing's on the wall right now. And then DK Metcalf, he's a young, in his prime type of player, and the Seattle Seahawks want to re-sign him, but does DK even want to stay there now? There's no quarterback. Why would you want to re-sign now?
Why do I want to
you know what?
Out here?
Pete, Brian Schneider, trade me. If I'm DK Metcalf, I am requesting a trade right now because clearly I don't want to rebuild this franchise with you guys. I want out. I want to go to a team that's going to be competitive or at least try to push for that Super Bowl, so I want out. But yeah, the Seattle organization, they're in a lot. They got a lot of decisions to make, and let's see if they can make the right ones.
Well, that's the thing, and it doesn't throughout their Pete Carroll's career there. I don't think they've really gone all in and made moves. You saw this years after years. How many times did they need an offensive line and they don't really pull the trigger to get that kind of guy? They've kind of been, make a move here, make a move there, and they let some of their guys, walk away. Well, rather unload on this guy. And then they'll bring in like a Sheldon Richardson here and there, or they brought in Jadeveon Clowney for a year, or things like that. Nothing really crazy and super surprising or showing anybody, and that's the reason why Russell Wilson isn't there anymore. You guys don't show me anything. You're really going to go all in. So the fact that they might do it now, I think, is just a farce. I think, they're just going to be like, again, we got to really start a rebuilding now. But like you said, to try and get more capital, I think maybe they should do that with the DK Metcalf and get some more and load up on picks like we saw with the Miami Dolphins have done before. They've got a nice slot. If they got Denver's pick right up there up front, Denver picks fairly early. I think they got a chance to get one of these quarterbacks here or one of those offensive linemen if that's what they want to do. But why not give yourself some more so you can really play around and really fill some of these gaps?
And that's the other thing too is how much of this is Pete Carroll too? Because think about it. When Pete Carroll came in, he came into a team that was already had that winning caliber type of team. They had the Legion of Boom, and the offense was taken off with Doug Baldwin and Tyler Lockett, and things were humming. With Marshawn Lynch in the backfield and stuff. So things were really there was a good buzz about Seattle. Now, since Pete Carroll has been there, you've noticed a slow deterioration of that organization, that team, to a point where some fingers got to be pointed at Pete Carroll at this point and say, hey, you know what? Maybe we decided to move on from Russell Wilson. We're going to do an official rebuild. And Pete, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to move on from you as well. We're going to start clean slate, new coaching staff, new bright minds. And I would say this, even a new GM, because to be honest, Brian Schneider, for all these issues that have been coming to, up to the top, and for him to not address them, or at least try to address them, that doesn't look very well for him as a GM. So I think you start with a new GM, new head coach, and just rebuild this team from the ground up.
Yeah, and we said it last week with the trade that had gone down. Now is the writings on the wall for Pete Carroll. Hot seat is all we're going to hear about this season. All right, Paul Matty says he agrees with us about Seattle. Seattle needs new blood at head coach. Absolutely, that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
And going back to him with the Arena League here, Saginaw Sting, IFL.
Oh, all
So
right.
that Saginaw, Michigan, is that what that is? You were in Michigan for a while and you did that, or is there another
IFL
Saginaw
too.
that we don't know of that might be in Florida possibly, or where you are now? Let me know about that. But that's pretty cool, man. That's awesome.
That's awesome,
I know
yeah.
on his Facebook profile he had some pics and stuff like that with
Yep.
this thing on there. That's awesome, man. Pleasure having you. The coaches out there too, and that's what you know. He knows his X's and his O's, and he brings a lot to this show as well. That's why we say we're the most interactive show on here, because we know some stuff here too, but we go feed off of what you guys do. You guys bring so much to the table and enlighten us as well, and it's great conversation. We really appreciate it.
He said, "Yeah, Michigan."
Yeah, yes, Michigan. Yes, Saginaw, Michigan. Yep. That's awesome, dude. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, man.
It's very cool.
It's funny the ties that everybody has here too, because you know, Michigan, and now he's in Florida. Mike Tackett, an Ohio guy, and then he's moved around. Now he's down in Florida. Stuff like it's funny the people that we know from different states, and then where they float around and where they came from. Like Mike Tackett, you're a Green Bay Packers fan though too, which is Wisconsin. You know what I'm saying? So it's cool to see the different types of fans from all over the different states and how they might have become those fans. He coached offensive line and defensive line. There you go. So he knows about the hog mollies out there.
Paul,
All
maybe
right.
you could coach me up. I still play flag football. I need some coaching up there, bud.
Right.
Might have to go down to Florida and have Paul coach me up.
Yeah, do a camp down there or
Yeah,
something
and
like
do a
that.
camp.
Awesome.
Do some training.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
what, you got something?
Real
Go
quick,
ahead.
because we touched on it, but we didn't really kind of dive into the trade or whatever of like who kind of won it, who lost it.
Oh, that's a good idea too. Let's do it.
But Devonte Adams with the Raiders.
Yeah, that's yep.
You know, for the Raiders to now you can look at this, two different ways here. Is you can compare it to the Tyreek Hill trade where, the Chiefs acquired a lot more picks. They got 5 picks, and then the Packers they kind of settled with a first and a second round pick for this year only. The Raiders forfeit the first and the second round pick. They get the best receiver, if not one of the best receivers in the game today, at 29 years old, in Devonte Adams, to pair him up with his old college teammate in Derek Carr. Something that they were missing, since Ruggs, kind of went haywire and made some dumb decisions.
Right.
But now they get a number one in a trade in Devonte Adams, which great. They already have like that special chemistry, that friendship already is there. So he comes into the Raiders now, and you look at what this offense may look like right now. Besides some of the other minor wide receiver signings that they made, it looks like you're going to have Devonte Adams, Darren Waller at tight end, Hunter Renfrow in the slot, and then the number 2 receivers up for grabs, because you got the young stud, you got the young kid in Brian Edwards still developing. They also signed a guy from the Dolphins, Mac Hollins, with his big afro puff hair, and then they signed from the Chiefs. They signed DeMarcus Robinson today. So
I tell you, now when you look at that division, you really could make the statement that do the Raiders have the best receiving core or targets in that division right now?
I would say yes.
You know what I mean?
To me, it's not even a
Especially after
question.
what had happened today. You saw that they were trying to load up on that to compete with what the Chiefs are doing. Chiefs lose Tyreek Hill. The Broncos still have some weapons there, but they can use more because they do lose a guy like Noah Fant too in the tight end spot as well. And you still have Keenan Allen there, and Mike Williams re-signed with the Chargers there. That's a nice tandem there as well. But the Raiders are going all in and loaded up.
I would say this, that the Raiders are very deep, because you even look at the cornerbacks that they added to kind of combat the offensive play.
Zay Jones went to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Right, that's where he went to the Jaguars.
What's that?
Zay Jones. He asked if you guys re-signed Zay Jones.
No, he went to the Jaguars.
Yeah,
Yep, he went to the Jaguars on, get this, a 1 year, $8 or $9 million contract.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen him play. Like, he doesn't get separation, so that would kind of worry me. I mean, don't get me wrong. He can run decent routes and stuff, and he will catch the ball sometimes. But all in all, I just didn't think he was worth that kind of a contract, and the Raiders didn't either because they didn't want to match it. They just let him walk. But yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is I would say that the Raiders, what they've done so far in free agency, and from what I'm hearing, they're not done yet because you got to think about the offensive line. It was bad last year. Like they had a huge hole at left guard and right tackle, and things weren't working. So they got to still add, upgrades to those positions. But other than that, like you look at this now, when you take a look at the Chargers and how they still have the same duo. They got Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, and then you look at the Broncos, and people are going to say, oh well, they got Jerry Jeudy and stuff, but people don't realize that like even though the Broncos have made additions, every team in this division have made additions. But think about how they played last year. You look at the Raiders and how porous that offensive line was at times. Right. No receivers besides Renfro, and Waller missed over half the year.
He missed a lot of time, yeah.
So, and they still made the playoffs. Now that they have weapons and they're getting better, and their defensive front is even more dangerous with a new defense coming in, you gotta kind of wonder like how good are the Raiders? How good can they be? And I mean, yeah, you get Russell Wilson in the division and Mahomes. I would say the Chiefs are they are being threatened right now by not only the Chargers, but the Broncos and the Raiders for losing their divisional crown that they've held for so long because what do they have right now? They don't have Tyreek anymore.
No.
They got Travis Kelce and they got Juju. Basically, that's it. And that doesn't scare nobody. I mean, yeah, they got Mia Cole Hardman, but honestly, teams have defended them pretty well. I haven't seen them really kind of take over games or anything.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You saw what teams have kind of done to them last year when they still even had Tyreek Hill. It seemed like they had figured out a formula. Now you're not worried about that weapon as well. People were looking at Patrick Mahomes like having a down year last year, because he was feeling the pressure. It felt like he had to put it all on his shoulders. And what does he do? He made a lot of mistakes. Those growing pains of being young, trying to do it all on his own, exactly, force things. And I see probably some more of that this season.
And a lot of times when you look at Mahomes and what he was able to do with Tyreek is when plays broke down, that's when he excelled because when plays broke down, Tyreek would just beeline it for the touchdown and he would launch it 70 yards down the field.
And that's when people got to look at him. They come up on him because they think he might even take off running on it, and then he pops it over the top on him.
Right. So, and then you look at the Chiefs' defense. They take a hit. Now, what offense in this division is going to take huge advantage of no longer having Tyrann Mathieu there that they moved around like a chess piece?
Yeah, because he was a big part of that.
And their corners, I'm sorry, but their corners are still weak. And they're going to have a hard time in this division defending them. So, man, I think that it's a big win for the Raiders in this trade, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not being biased at all. Like when you get the number one or one of the top three receivers in this league for a first and a second for just this year. And you got him for long term, too. You got him for 3 more years added on to this year. Because even though it was a 5-year extension, those last 2 years he's never going to see. That contract was backloaded for a reason. So, yeah, I just think that the Raiders won this trade. I feel and people are going to blame the Packers. Like the Packers fans are saying, how could you trade Adams away? Well, because Adams wasn't going to play.
Right.
He was not. He came out and said, "I'm not playing under the tag, and unless you can give me a deal that's worthy of my play, then I'm not going to play for you." You know what I mean? So and the Packers said, and this is why you have to give kudos to the Packers because they realize they're like, okay, we're trying to get a deal done. It's not happening. Let's get whatever compensation we can for Adams, and we'll move on and make our additions either with the remaining free agents that are available. Because look at like Julio Jones, we joked about it last week about maybe Julio going to the Packers to give a weapon there for Aaron Rodgers. And on top of that, what's to say Odell Beckham goes to the Packers too? Because and Jarvis Landry, like there's weapons that are still out there that they could easily add right now, especially with the cap room now that they got. And
that is correct.
And utilize this first and second round picks in this draft to add some holes that you have. So I feel like that the Packers are being trashed by their fans, but they have to realize the business side of this.
Well, I think some of it, too, it not only just the Packers in general, but the media, since everything that has happened with Aaron Rodgers and how he loved to kind of toy with everybody, everybody hates, not everybody, a lot of people really hate Aaron Rodgers now. And so when something like this happens, they see that he resigns, gets the deal,
gets
and now,
the big money.
Now,
big money.
They're like, oh, now he's still just selfish. He doesn't care about anybody else, and he screwed Devonte Adams over, and now they got to get rid of him. When we already know throughout the talking throughout this that Devonte Adams, like you said, was not going to stay there, and Aaron Rodgers had talked to him about this too. He said.
Rodgers knew before he signed his deal that Adams was on his way out.
Absolutely. So, but everyone he wants to paint it out to be Aaron Rodgers' fault about this whole thing. So,
well, I mean, when you want to be the highest paid, player, that's going to take a hit on your own team though too. So
yeah, it's going to be.
The cap isn't going to be. You're not going to have as much room in the cap to add more talent through free agency. And, it makes it a little bit harder. But it is Aaron Rodgers, and he does elevate the play of a lot of players.
We saw what it's like when he's not there. You know what I mean?
I mean, you take any great quarterback and remove him from there, he's going to be atrocious.
Absolutely. Paul Matty says, who will be the Raiders head coach? Well, it's Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels is their head coach out there. So that's going to be clear there. Now, really, maybe the question is how well will he do here? Because we saw him with the stint with the Broncos, and unfortunately he went and his camp went and got Tim Tebow and started Tebow mania because he liked his character better than his play and all this stuff and was going to make a star out of him. So that was an embarrassment in itself. And then on top of things, after the Super Bowl coming out where he had already promised he was going to be the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, backs out of that deal, stays with the Patriots. That's more of the prove-it deal on this whole Raiders team altogether here. They have the weapons, so it looks like it's going to look really nice. You imagine Derek Carr excelling in this offense that he's going to bring to the table. So they have nothing but excitement and positivity. That should look good, but I think eyes are going to be on Josh McDaniels just a little bit just to see how he handles this head coaching job this time forward here. Paul Manning says Aaron Rodgers steps out of the shower to pee. Yeah, well, it could be. Is that the proper thing to do though? Really is. You know what I mean? That's what you should do. That's what everybody should be doing. He's saying it like he doesn't. Like he should be doing that. So for you to admit that maybe we all should just pee in the shower, that we're all just disgusting human beings, it's probably correct, but it's also offensive at the same time.
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely. But anyways, we got our man Godzilla Media in the house. That's Tom Goz. He's in the house with us tonight. Joe, what does he have to say here out there?
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to the show, buddy. True or false? Baker Mayfield is starting Week 1 in 2022.
See, he's trying to catch us on this now. See, that's the thing. He's tricky with this about this, and you got to commend Goz about this, and he knows what the hell he's doing, because it's how far these cases are going to go. Is he going to get suspended or not? Because that's the only thing that looms on this whole thing. Because besides that, you're saying Deshaun Watson is starting.
I don't see Baker Mayfield there by Week 1 in Cleveland. I don't. I think they're going to move on from Baker Mayfield is not going to play for this team. And listen, because he's one of those very emotional players, and once he gets it in his head that he's made a decision, he's kind of like he's stubborn in a sense like Aaron Rodgers is. When Aaron Rodgers makes up his mind, you cannot change it. And Baker Mayfield, with his emotions and his past history in college and how he made a lot of bad decisions and everything, party guy and all that. I don't think he's going to play for Cleveland. I think that they are going to have to somehow restructure his deal to make it more appealing for another team to trade for him and only give up a low round pick to get him. Maybe Seattle, maybe not. Maybe he even gets traded somewhere else to compete for a job. Maybe the Panthers. So I think it was a bad business decision on Cleveland's part to trade Case Keenum, who was only making $6 million for the year, and now it's like you're like, oh, you want to hold on to Baker, but Baker don't even want to play for you. He wants out now. He even put in a request to get traded as soon as the rumors out there were going on, and so far the Cleveland Browns have said, no, we're not going to trade you. So it's going to be interesting to see how this back and forth battle goes. But if Baker makes his mind up, he's not going to play for you. So I don't see him staying as a backup behind a guy like Deshaun Watson. And why would Cleveland want to pay a guy $18 million to be a backup and pay Deshaun Watson what they're paying him? And that's a lot of money to put into two quarterbacks on the same team.
He says also Baker Mayfield is definitely a guy who pees in the shower.
Could be.
It could be. I'm not sure, but is it?
Paul, exactly, Paul. That's the thing. Is like he could be a backup somewhere as long as I feel like he just wants out of Cleveland right now. And whether he gets an opportunity if he gets traded to the Panthers and maybe he can compete with a Sam Darnold for the job, or he goes to the Seattle and he competes with whoever else they have in the quarterback positions.
Well, this is what's funny though. This is what's compelling about the Washington Commanders, and they pull the trigger on that trade with Carson Wentz to bring him back to the NFC East. All this stuff still had to fall into place. It got to hit the drain. There you go. All right. So they pulled the trigger early on that trade when you had all these different dominoes to fall into place. They could be even into talks right now with Baker Mayfield and trying to get them. But after they had already pulled off that trade, I don't see it happening as much. But you're banking your season on either Carson Wentz, which I didn't get in the first place because you already kind of sold in, at least for your team. You told yourselves you were going in on Taylor Heineke. Taylor Heineke was kind of your guy, at least for now. The team has bought in on him. He has a lot of fire in him in that drive to trying to win. He's obviously not an elite quarterback. He's
still developing.
Crazy. Yeah, but now you want to just stifle all that and bring in Carson Wentz on this to where you might, in the same season, this season, that might be a different question too. How quick will Taylor Heineke become the starter for Washington? Because I think it might happen during this season. Either due to injuries or just bad play by Carson Wentz. And you went and traded that guy.
Well, here's the thing too, is like Taylor Heineke, when they sent him to a 3-year extension, it was with hopes of them further developing him to maybe at the end of that third year, maybe quite possibly he could be starter worthy. Now, we've seen, just like Baker Mayfield, we've seen him do really well. We've also seen Taylor Heineke do bad. And I don't think he
wasn't the number 1 overall pick, so you're going to see that.
No. That's what I'm saying, is that you have to develop him. So with that 3-year extension, there was in no way, shape, or form hopes of him being the starter right away. Or because of Ryan Fitzpatrick and his unfortunate injury, he was thrust into that starting job for this past season. Wasn't supposed to be, though. So he was supposed to learn underneath Fitzpatrick, develop it further, and then maybe, quite honestly, he could compete for whoever they added at quarterback for that job. But Ryan Fitzpatrick, to me, is I'm kind of finding it hard to believe that he's still a free agent, and in the fact that he could easily compete for a starting job, 1, and 2. Why won't a team like Seattle or a team like the Panthers, if they were so desperate to maybe move on and get Watson? I understand he's a really good quarterback at 26 years old, and that's why you do it. But if you're still looking at quarterback position to address and to upgrade or to add to, Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's a great stopgap quarterback for you right now. Why? And Washington, why don't you re-sign him and maybe he could stay healthy this year for you and see where your team could end up. So I feel like Ryan Fitzpatrick, of all people, like as a free agent who's easily available, you don't have to trade draft picks for right now. Like Seattle, if they wanted to add him for a 2-year deal even, just as a stopgap until they get their guy, that's definitely, attainable.
Yeah, but I mean, that's why I'm looking at Washington as now with this going down with Baker Mayfield. You still have Ryan Fitzpatrick there, obviously. Some other different things, developments. Jimmy G even still within a potential trade. I mean, let's put it this way. You can. What did Steven say here first?
Fitzmagic good no matter where he goes.
Yeah, so if you want to put these guys in a room, say we're playing a pickup game. We're all here, Steven. Say you got a team or whatever. I got a team. You got Ryan Fitzpatrick here. You've got Carson Wentz. You got Taylor Heineke. And you've got Jimmy G. Who are you picking to be your quarterback? You got first pick. Who you grabbing out of those guys?
Ryan Fitzmagic.
Ryan Fitzmagic. Then who's your maybe second?
What, second person to sign?
Second person after that, if you had a different decision to make, besides that, second best, you think? Well, basically, I guess if you want to say, you already had Taylor Heineke there, all right? So you just throw him out, all right?
Yeah.
But you could have got Fitz, like Paul Matty says it right here. Steven says Jimmy G. So you could either make that trade for Jimmy G, or you can grab Fitz, and they go Carson Wentz. And it was early. And I think they still, depending on whether the Colts were pressing somebody and they were on the phone with a bunch of guys and they happened to catch the Washington Commanders at a certain time and we're like, hey, you guys are, hey, Daniel Snyder, your wife runs a show, but hey, listen, you're pretty liquored up right now. What do you think about this? You want Carson Wentz? He knows the NFC is pretty good. He's not so shabby, right? He's out there. He does okay when he's not, fumbling the ball or getting hurt and things like that. And then, sells him on it. Instead of, he could have grabbed one of these other guys that you said it, he said it, we said all people besides Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
And that's the guy to go for.
And they gave up 2 third-round picks for him.
Right.
And they swap, I guess, they went to 2 third-round picks and they swap second-round picks.
But still.
That's a lot for Carson Wentz.
It is. It is. Mike Tackett's with us in the house tonight. I don't
What's
have
up,
my
Mike?
DJ horn set up, but he says Matty Ice to Indy makes so much sense.
Absolutely.
Better run game, wide receivers, and O-line compared
Well, they
to
still
Indy.
need to add to the wide receiver.
Yeah, I think so too.
But yeah, you're right. You're right on. The best offensive line will ever play behind a really good running back in Jonathan Taylor, a young one, and they just got to build the rest of the receiving core out. And wow, I mean, Matty Ice could literally turn this Colts team around.
Just like that, right?
And just like that, and there you go. They're going to be competing in the playoffs.
Steven says they think he's 2017 Wentz. Everybody's kind of hoping for that, but
that's
come on, is he really?
But that's the thing, and I'll say this: the 2017 Wentz was the offensive coordinator for the Eagles at the time was Frank Reich, who is now the head coach of the Colts, and that's where we kind of saw those ties when Wentz became available from Philly, and we're like, oh, this has got to happen, right? And it did happen, but it didn't end up the way they wanted. Wentz struggled, got injured, made some bonehead plays and stuff. So now that we've seen Wentz not once but twice fail and get injured and so have you, how is he still a commodity that teams want to actually trade for?
Right.
And that, I think, is what Jimmy's really basically getting to.
Is that you went and grabbed there, but now look at the quarterbacks that are still available. You could have waited on it and did this.
You could have gave up. You didn't even have to give up 2/3 or anything for Jimmy G. They're just looking to unload his contract. So you could have given them a 5th, a 6th-round pick, something like that, and get Jimmy G in there, who is going to be better than Wentz right now.
Right.
And on top of that, like, even if you went to, I would say this, even if you traded for Baker Mayfield, it is better than having Wentz at this point in time, because at least Baker, is going to be there every Sunday. He's going to make some plays. And who knows?
Hope so.
Maybe a change of environment is what he needs. Maybe a change in the offense is what he needs to be able to do and be able to go to a different team to where maybe he can work with the coordinator and who knows? Because sometimes that happens. Sometimes a player, as simple as changing and going to a different team, a different atmosphere, sometimes that's all they need to get better.
Yeah, I mean, again, and if you get somebody like that there, that might even entice some of these other guys, like free agents, maybe Jarvis Landry go to. Now, imagine that. Let's say this. We'll put Terry McLaurin on one side and you put Jarvis Landry on the other in the NFC East, and you got somebody like Ryan Fitzpatrick throwing to him or somebody else, Baker Mayfield, if they still got along, whether, Odell did or not, maybe Jarvis and Baker had something still, they could do something together in that division and have a chance, because that division, no matter what everybody will say about the Cowboys and stuff like that, it's still wide open no matter what, all the time. Philadelphia has something to prove all the time too with them, and Washington's still always in it too, no matter what, whoever they put in at quarterback. If they can get their defense back to what they were 2 years ago, and Chase Young could be healthy fully this year too, that would be nice for them too. And the Giants are, they're looking to rebuild too and try and get something going here. So let's see what happens with them. So it's wide open there. Mike Tackett says, I've got a shot glass that says Wentz on it. Not sure what the difference is versus the Wentz I see on TV. They both glass. Nice. I love it, man. Awesome. Here, we'll just do a beer tag. Let's fill it up with something. Fill the shot glass up with something then, Mike Tackett. Why don't you, buddy? Do a shot on us. By the way, it was a pleasure having you with us last week. We had a hell of a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
You had a lot of those just those one-liners too, man. Just kept them coming too. It's awesome, man. We had a blast with you. One thing I can't forget to mention, though, having a blast is having a blast go down to my friends at Mohawk Honda here on Freeman's Bridge Road. It's springtime. Spring is here, and there's a great time to get into a new car at Mohawk Honda. You guys can visit Mohawk Honda at Freeman's Bridge Road, like I just said, in Glenville, or you can go to mohawkhonda.com, and you can work with the people that you can trust during the car buying experience. They do everything they can to get you into the car that you want, that you deserve, and the payments that you want to as well. And throughout the month of March, Mohawk Honda and Chevrolet, too, as well, are collecting athletic equipment for underprivileged kids in the capital region. So what you do is you bring your equipment to either location, either the one at Chevrolet in Malta or Mohawk Honda in Glenville, and you can donate your equipment there, and help the community this month. Also follow the Mohawk Honda on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to learn more. And this month, you can watch Mohawk Honda staff compete in the Plate Change Challenge. It is crazy what these people do. It looks like a lot of fun to work there, Joe. I mean, the place is beautiful inside there as well, and they do things to make the customer feel great. But it looks like they have a lot of fun where they're working together, too, as well. So to find the right place, the right vehicle, too, the spot is Glenville, New York, Mohawk Honda, where they go out of their way to please you. All right, there we go. So, Mike Tackett, now you've joined us with the show, too. You talked about the Carson Wentz deal. The blockbuster deal with Tyreek Hill. What do you think about that, buddy, and what's going on with the Chiefs? The one thing that I talked about with Cody Raptor earlier, we just touched on the Devonte Adams deal. Yeah. We figured, all right, well, this is your litmus test, I guess, or this has got to be your line. Devonte Adams goes for a first and a second.
Yep.
All right, so you look at Tyreek Hill. He's one of the better players, but I don't think he's Devonte Adams there. So I figured he's got to be around there, just under.
So what the Jets
and
offered,
then it was way more.
What the Jets offered is what I thought was reasonable. That I thought Tyreek Hill would go for is 2 seconds and a third. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good compensation for Tyreek Hill. The Jets didn't want to give up one of their first rounders, which I don't know why, because you guys trade away your first rounders anyway. So.
Or they just suck with them all the time.
No. They end up trading them away, and Joe Douglas doesn't make any sense. So why hold on to it? Give up a first rounder and a couple of those picks, and you could have had Tyreek Hill help Zach Wilson out. You know what I mean? At quarterback, they've already done a good job, I feel like, of upgrading their offensive line, and they could even further do. They can even do that further in the draft, for the upcoming draft, but. They're making moves to get better, but, man, this would have been a move where now you're going to give Zach Wilson a elite threat to throw to that he needs.
Yeah.
And the Jets didn't pull the trigger. They didn't want to give up a first round, so that fell by the wayside. But here comes the Dolphins, which, I mean, we said this already a few times in the show, that absolutely atrocious compensation. Why would you give this many picks up, for one? And two, what they were. I just can't fathom what the Dolphins organization, GM-wise, or the coaching staff, who obviously they really wanted him, but did you need him? Did you need him that badly where you're giving up that much in compensation just to bring in him when you already had like a young stud in Jalen Waddle as his rookie year, and you got all these guys returning in Devontae Parker and Preston Williams and Mike Gesicki? Like, I don't think there was a dire need to go out and, like, you need to get Tyreek Hill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's great that they got him, but, man, did they give up a freaking boatload of picks.
Yeah, and that's absolutely, that's what I mean. You look at this, I mean, the other running back I was thinking of here was Chase Edmonds. So they got him, Mostert, and Gaskin there still in the backfield.
Chase Edmonds will probably end up the starter.
That's what I thought, too, as well. And the other ones are just nice backs to sprinkle in. But when you look at Tyreek Hill on one side, and you've got either Cedric Wilson and Jalen Waddle as your other two right there, And then Mike Gesicki there at tight end. I mean, that's scary.
Yeah.
That's scary shit right there.
That's a really good, receiving core for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, here we go. Mike Tackett says Hill
Hold on. But Paul said Hill will show out in Miami. Yeah, I mean, we think that there's no way he can't because you look at this and
like who are you going to guard on this one? Anybody.
What's projected there, like their offensive wise. So Mike McDaniels comes over from the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
It most likely he's going to instill something very similar to maybe almost identical as what the Niners have in terms of offense.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a guy by the name of Deebo Samuel, which everybody should know by now. He ran the ball. He caught the ball. He did a lot of things. I think Tyreek Hill could be utilized the same way in that type of offense to where kind of like the Chiefs. The Chiefs used him every once in a while on jet sweeps and stuff, handing the ball off and letting him run. That's where they're going to utilize him. And with all these other weapons besides Hill there, it's going to be really hard to defend.
Mm-hmm. And like you said earlier on too, getting the Teron Armstead too, signing him that left tackle spot to
lock
help
up
out
that
too,
left tackle.
actually was a great move by them too. So it's kind of funny these great moves in the offseason and then to shell out the money here. I get it, it's got the weapon here, but a little too much. Like Steven says, they gave up a bit too much.
Absolutely,
Tua is still a bit iffy. The thing's out on it. I mean, that's basically what we're looking at.
A lot of people, and that's the narrative that everyone's painting, right? Tua's iffy. He's not that good. We should move on from him. But let's see what he can do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There is a learning curve to this. He's got to learn a new offense, and maybe it works out better for him with this new offense and all these weapons. So let's see if he can prove himself and improve this year.
Mm-hmm. All right, Mike Tackett here says, now he goes, Hill was hurt that KC didn't offer him a new deal similar to what Adams got. Wanted every penny he thought he was worth. Miami reached, but at least he got paid, and that's the thing for him too. They did that
right.
They shelled out in picks and in money.
They paid him more.
Mm-hmm.
Why? I just don't get it. Like, if you're trying to tell me that Tyreek Hill is better than Devonte Adams or better than DeAndre Hopkins, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
is he faster?
Fast.
I will say this: he's more explosive. Like he can accelerate extremely. Like in 2 steps, he's full speed. That's what makes him a difference maker. But to say that like overall he's better than Adams and Hopkins, I don't see it. I don't think he deserves a contract above those two. So for Miami to not only overspend on draft capital and overspend money wise on signing Tyreek Hill, I think they lost in that trade, because you think about how much money they're investing in just a wide receiver, which you can get in the draft. And this year's draft is very deep. So if you need receiver help, Colts, this is the year to be in it. So with all that being said, I feel like the Chiefs end up winning this deal. Because, yeah, I understand there's a big minus in terms of Hill being moved on. But let's just say this. They weren't going to be able to afford him. So why not get the draft capital that you can, move on from him, and then here comes Mecole Hardman.
Steven says, not as good in red zone, though. Adams, Hopkins can get up one on someone. Hill isn't doing that. Yeah, absolutely. That's the thing, because when you get closer to that red zone, he's shorter. His speed doesn't really come into play then.
So you know what the Chiefs did? They dump it off to him. He runs right in the end zone. I mean, you don't have to be
sweeps or something.
You don't have to be big. You don't have to be the highest jumper to be the red zone threat. I mean, that guy can flat out beat you really quick. I mean, right into the end zone. So, yeah, you're right, but he's a different receiver, correct? So, I mean, he does things differently to become that threat. So,
yeah, it is strange because you saw Miami going with trust the process basically for the past 2 years at least.
With Brian Flores.
With trading away people. I mean, Minka Fitzpatrick right away when he was young, just like, see ya, we get this. It looks like they're tanking,
oh, man,
getting picks, nonstop, gathering all up, and now they're unloading picks and shelling out money. Like, what changed besides Brian Flores being gone?
Different staff.
And now they've changed their mentality.
Different staff
They're going
changes
all
everything
in on this now, too, which kind of brings up to me the kind of the question. Now, everybody's saying this is such a crazy year for the NFL in the offseason. So many teams grabbing this guy. There's so many different faces on different squads.
Yeah.
Why the big rush on all this season before the draft? What does that say maybe about this draft class? Everybody's trying to go get that key wide receiver. Got to get that key quarterback. I'm willing to give you whatever it takes on this. If it puts me over the cap, I'll figure it out. Why the run on everybody right now on the offensive side especially?
Because let's take it piece by piece. So quarterbacks, right? It's a very weak class for quarterbacks. There's no quarterback that stands above the rest. There's no Peyton Mannings. You know what I mean? There's no Aaron Rodgers in this type of draft. So because the quality of quarterback that's coming out in the draft is lower, some people would make the argument that there's no first-round quarterback in this draft. And they might be right. A lot of these quarterbacks that are coming out right now, even though it's a weak market, a lot of them need a lot of development still. Some guys have pros and just like any other year, there's pros and cons to people. People will make fun of of Pickett and his hand size and how small they are. So he needs to wear gloves to hold on grip on the ball. But he's fumbled a lot in college. So there's these things that people are looking at, and like Willis, phenomenal athlete, very mobile, cannon of an arm. Does he have the X's and O's down? You know what I mean? Can he develop further and become that dynamite player better? Can he be better than Lamar Jackson? Because that's what people are kind of like looking at him like, yeah, he's very mobile. He has a strong arm, but can he make all the throws? Can he be smart with the football? And so because of the I would say the mid-grade on this quarterback, class, and then you look at these other positions like wide receiver, offensive line, D-line, not so much corner, but linebackers. Those are all positions that are very deep. Wide receivers are deep in this draft class, and again, there's no elite top echelon type of player that's separating himself from the herd. So because of that, and there's been scouts, and there has been organizations with the front office that have come out and said that this draft class is so deep and so close to the same. You might draft a guy in the top 10, and he might be just as good as the guy in the bottom 10. They're saying that this draft class is so kind of close together. There's nobody separating each other separating from each other. At the point where if you take a guy in the third round, he could be as good as the guy in the bottom first round. So that's why I think you're starting to see some of these teams go big on these trades where they're trading draft picks away, or they're unloading money to sign some of these key free agents that are available to help bolster their team. It's because of this draft class is not as strong as past draft classes. And that's why you see a lot of these high picks going. The Raiders gave up their first and second round picks for Devonte Adams because maybe they thought by picking at 22, they're like, we can wait till the third round and still get a really quality player.
Right.
But we're going to add this supreme receiver that we need. So some teams are feeling like they have to do that, and then there's other teams that are just collecting picks, like the Jets have a lot of picks. You know what I mean?
Right.
The Dolphins gave up a lot of picks, so now the Chiefs inherit a bunch of. You know what I mean? So it's just not that top tier end of the prospects that are involved in this draft for this upcoming year.
And that reminds me of something I want to ask you quick, but I want to bring up Mike Tackett's comment here because I want to see what he says about this. He says. Props to the USFL, first league to offer a 3-point conversion.
Ding, ding, ding,
There he is.
Yeah, but what is it, though? Because I don't follow any of this. Like, what do they do to get the
pass?
3-point conversion? Is it
run or pass?
Run or pass? Like, what, when
Is
you go
that
to
what
like
it
a
is?
2-point conversion? I
Yeah.
want to know. I want to know what that means.
I
How
would
do they
think
get
that's
that?
I would think that would be it.
So run or pass, and you don't get 2, you get 3 either
Right.
way. And then if you kick the
Yeah.
extra point, it's just 1 or something
Right.
like that. So you get 3 instead.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I
But,
just wasn't sure.
Mike-
but let us know it. But
Mike,
I don't know. So
Let me ask you this: for the 3-point conversion, where do they spot the ball?
Right. Yeah, I want to know that too. Like if that's is a 2-point from a certain area and
Well,
then they go back
you
further.
know what I mean?
and
Like-
is that 3?
Like your normal.
It's like 2-point conversion, but from the 10.
Okay.
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 Can you still go
cool.
for a 2.2 though as well? Can you go for a 2, but then also go for the 1, but the 2-point conversion is like on a 5-yard line or something, or?
Well,
I just
yeah,
want to know.
it would be your 2-point conversion and your extra point would probably be in the same spot.
Same spot. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. I like I said, they have a deal too. Don't they have a TV deal with people? Let us know out there. Like I said, I haven't followed a lot of this at all. So Mike Tackett, I'm going to
He's our
reach
go-to
to
guy
you on this, and Paul Matty too as well too. I know you're on. You got their finger on the pulse on this too.
It's Tackett time,
First
baby.
one. Who jumps in? Who chime in? Correct. Is it going to be
Correct.
on? All right, cool. Is it going to be? I had a feeling they were on CBS or something like that, or one of those
Fox and
and NBC. Yeah, I'll try and check it out, man. I'm always down to check it out. More football and some of these guys, the names you don't see, and see how they elevate and they play. And some of these former Arena League guys too get out there and be able to play. Guys that were trying to make teams were in NFL camps and didn't make it. And now they get another time to shine here.
Yeah,
and do it. And even a lot of former players. We saw that in the not the XFL, but the other one that they had 2 years ago, I think that Andrew Luck's father was part of and stuff that folded pretty because it was ran terribly.
Oh, yeah.
But we saw a lot of former NFL players.
The AAFL.
Yeah, the AAFL. They actually were performing pretty well, and they were doing some cool stuff too.
And some of those guys after that kind of collapse, they got opportunities to try out for NFL teams.
Right. All right. So now I wanted to bring that up there too with that, but as we were talking about these situations and guys going to teams, getting in on people. One of the conversations that we had last week was the Odell Beckham Jr. conversation. Where do you see him going? Do you see him going back with the Los Angeles Rams? And I said, yeah, it probably makes sense because, again, you've got the him and Stafford are on the same page now because you were able to play a lot there. And you said, well, I don't know as much because with that, you still have Robert Woods coming back. And I was thinking my point of view of it is Stafford got to play with Odell Beckham Jr. He didn't get to really play with Robert Woods that much because Robert Woods got injured that early. So they have the chemistry and they have the momentum to move forward. And they haven't brought in Odell Beckham Jr. yet. But what do you think about the trade of Robert Woods going?
I think the reason is because they signed Allen Robinson. I mean, that's the reason. They moved on from Robert Woods. They got a 6th-round pick, which isn't much, but hey, they unload a guy that's getting up there in age, right? He's not old yet. I mean, he's like kind of late 20s, early 30s, but still a good player. Still a guy that as long as he comes back healthy, he can definitely help out the Titans. And for the Rams, they moved on. Listen, I don't think now that they've made a definitive, decision, and they went with Allen Robinson. They brought him in, signed him to a 3-year deal. He's going to be the receiver opposite Cooper Kupp, and they're going to roll with it. So here's Allen Robinson, definitely going to be there. Odell Beckham, I do not see him returning to the Rams because of this move. Because they went a little younger with Allen Robinson, brought him in, and that replaces both Robert Woods and Odell. And as far as Odell's rehab, he's got a long road to go. He got injured in the big game. So that right there, it looks like it's tracking to where it could be leading into the beginning to middle of the season till he's 100% ready to go. So what team is going to take a risk in signing a guy who's still injured in hopes of maybe him returning back to a healthy stature and helping out a team? I think you're not going to see Odell sign with anybody until he's close. And quite honestly, it could be a team like maybe is on the rise or something, or is looking really good at that point where Odell is going to be open to going. And it could be Cleveland. It could be. He said as much that he's open to returning to Cleveland now that there's a legitimate, really good quarterback that's proven there. That would be an interesting, signing for him to come back to Cleveland. And let's see where they're at. Let's see where Cleveland is at with Deshaun Watson and the rest of the gang there.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Maybe they have a winning record by the time Odell's healthy and he comes back and he signs with them. Or he could go a different route and maybe go to another hot team that has some weapons and he wants to be a part of it, just like he kind of fell into the laps of the Rams.
Right.
So you got to strike when the iron's hot, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that's what Odell is going to wait and see after he gets kind of close to being healthy. Then maybe he'll have his agent reach out to a few teams and we'll see what happens where he goes. But the hardest thing is for teams right now, like if you could take a risk, right? You could take a risk and sign him now if you wanted to. I've never seen a team sign an injured player. You know what I mean? Before.
Right.
But you could, and you could actually have the contract to be kind of like incentive laden or injury clauses and stuff like that. But again, I think it's going to be the type of thing where teams are going to feel more comfortable when he gets close to being healthy and able to pass a physical.
Yeah. Well, that's what you're gonna do. That's why it's like we were talking about. I said Mike Tackett said it makes sense. With Woods gone, it could, and that's the thing. He is injured, so he's going to be on the cheap again. And for him, you saw how he kind of was able to get out of Cleveland and end up with the Rams, who was going all in to try and get that championship. I think he's going to have that same type of mentality to try and get on one of those teams that's going to be going for a ring as well. Mike Tackett says it hurts OBJ that this is such a deep wide receiver class. Better, younger, healthier guys are available, and that's the thing. Yeah, right. Exactly. That's a good point here by Mike Tackett as well. So, like Joe's onto something here too. Again, he could go further on, see where his development is with his rehab, where he might land, or we'll see what happens with his career. Paul Matty, will anyone sign AB?
That's a tough pill to swallow, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, this is the guy that has a terrible track record with teams. I mean, you think about, when the Raiders traded for him from the Steelers, give up a first and a third, and they bring him over to be their number one, right? That they've been dying for a number one receiver. Hey, we got one now. And then we don't even get through training camp, and then he loses his mind, calls Mike Mayock some names or whatever, throws something at him, and then he's jettisoned right out of there. So... And then he goes to the Patriots, right? Patriots take a shot at him. Tom Brady brings him in and says, we got this. And then he disrupts the Patriots. Not the Patriot way, correct? Get out of New England. And then, he ends up at Tampa Bay. And then yet another problem with Antonio Brown, with Bruce Arians and him kind of butting heads. And then you guys, you know what? Screw you. I'm out of here. Right in the middle of a Jets game. So
I mean,
he's like, get in there. He's like, I'm still hurt. What are you talking about?
Reality TV.
Get out of here. I'm out.
That's what I do. They got to do like a Big Brother with him, Chad Johnson, and like T.O. Put them all in the same room or whatever. Let them compete about whatever, and that would be crazy to watch. Those guys.
I would sign T.O. before I would sign AB.
Well, there you go. Paul Matty says you could get AB for $10. I think that's a joke play on words with the Bucks being BUCS,
right, yes.
But I don't think they would give $10. What $10 would you give? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They just brought back Leonard Fournette, who happened to jump back with that team now. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. The Buccaneers, I just looked at their salary cap. They're over by $4 million.
Yeah.
How are they signing players? How are they allowed?
Yeah, I don't know.
Paul Matty also said, he goes, coaches have a chart which tells you to go for 1 or 2 or 3 depending on the score, so they don't have to do the math on the sideline. There are a few spots on the chart where it's a judgment call. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
It's going to be interesting. I'll say this. Like a lot of the rules and stuff, it does make it kind of like a new and fresh kind of football spin for that league. So it will be interesting to watch, to say the least.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's going to be cool. I'm excited. I'm always down for watching more football. And like I said, we just got kind of back into the Arena League scene this last year when we were able to check out some of those playoff games with the Empire down in Albany. And that season's starting up in this coming month in April. So, I mean, times are going to be getting super exciting around here.
It's gonna be fun.
You're going to have that league going on. You got the XFL that's going to be starting in a little while too as well. And the NFL offseason, it is nuts out here, man.
Absolutely
Things
crazy.
are moving daily. It seemed like it was simmering. Everybody still settled in on the Matt Ryan talk. They're ready to talk about that. And then this afternoon dropped, and everything went haywire. So it was crazy.
And there's still some big name free agents available. We touched on a couple of them: Odell Beckham, Julio Jones. Stephon Gilmore is still out there, and he's been rumored around. A lot of teams have expressed interest in obtaining his services, and he's still out there. So it's got to make you wonder: like, is he asking for way too much money at 31 years old? Don't get me wrong; he can still play. He can definitely still play, but it kind of makes me wonder because it seems like he's fishing for the highest bidder.
Yeah, that's what kind of seems like for me, that him being out there still, and that the Carolina Panthers weren't willing to even bring him back in.
Well, they already have They with the re-signing of
Right.
Dante Jackson and their draft pick from a year ago, they're set at
Yeah,
corner.
they're set.
They don't need him.
So, I mean, but does he go back to the Patriots? What's funny is the Patriots, you just saw Malcolm Butler went back with them.
Yeah.
Imagine that. How
Yep.
about that? Even after
A return.
sitting out because of COVID and
Couple
stuff like that,
years,
he
yeah.
wanted to even be out. He took a season off. And then he kind of has been trending downwards, year after year.
Well, mind you, he
And-
got cut too.
Yeah.
Which
And-
was surprising.
and then you go back even further, that Super Bowl to where something happened with him and Bill
Yep.
Belichick, and
Yep.
where he was not
Yeah.
even playing. They put Rowe in, and neither of those guys are on the team anymore now.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they bring him back in, so this Patriot team is kind of strange to me. It's really odd because
Yeah.
they've been talked up so much about how cerebral Bill Belichick is, the moves that they make.
Yeah.
Is it all Tom Brady? Is it him? But what's funny is they find that free agent or that guy that got cut. They bring him in and they make a star out of him.
They used to.
They used to.
Not anymore.
Right. What has changed?
Well, I think poor decision making for one.
Well, is that because Nick Caseria isn't there anymore, and
No.
maybe it was him doing it, or was it really Belichick,
No.
or they're changing mentalities?
Nick
because they
Caserio-
also went and did a lot of put money up to get those tight ends that they did last year as well too. So they look a little different, and now the fact that they're trying to change things up, coaching style too as well, with Matt Patricia coaching the offensive line,
Yeah, laughable.
and now they're talking about Bill Belichick possibly doing not only the defense but also calling offensive calls as well. What is going on in New England with this Patriot
And
team?
not to mention, Joe Judge is not even in
Not
his
even gonna
normal
be the special
position.
team spot.
Yeah,
Right.
So I think he's coaching defense or
Yeah,
something,
something like that.
They got it
Yeah.
all messed. Matt Patricia should
Like
be the defensive guy,
linebackers coach or something like that.
and Joe Judge should be like offense. I don't know. They're just kind of got it all messed up. Coaching staff wise, it seems like their decision making as of late has been really kind of off the wall, and a lot of NFL teams, in the league are kind of expressing that. And they're kind of scratching their heads, being like, "We don't know what New England's doing, but this is very unorthodox." They're sending a 4-year young scout, not even the head of scouting department, but a 4-year young scout to talk to agents for these so-called prospects coming in the draft, which is no experience doing that. So there's a lot of questionable moves that the Patriots as an organization are doing, and NFL teams are taking notice, and they're like, "We don't recognize this organization anymore. What's going on?"
Right.
And and then you look, and just like to your point, like they used to be so good at finding these little niche players that would fit their scheme offensively or defensively to such a T to where it makes them play 10 times better, and they end up becoming stars and making some money for themselves. So we're not seeing that anymore, and we're seeing bad drafting happening. None of their draft picks are really kind of taken off anymore.
Bringing back former players too,
Free agency.
that they usually we recommend them or we commend them for moving on from players a year in advance, knowing that they're kind of it was
the
happening.
decline. Yeah,
But you saw they did it with Kyle Van Noy, but then again last year they bring him back for a little bit. Now they bring back Malcolm Butler again. Do we see Stephon Gilmore, Sony Michel that are out there? Do they start joining back on
I don't
the
think
team?
so.
I
I don't
mean,
think
like,
so
what's
because
going on?
Gilmore is asking for money.
Yeah.
Patriots aren't willing to pay money because they needed to spread it out and to make that team overall
Mike
better.
Tackett's got a few different things here.
What we got?
I'm going to go with his inside sources first. He's got an update here. Mike Tackett's updates. He says inside sources are telling him that Bobby Wagner could end up with the Rams with the next week. Probably not, but maybe.
Well, we already know that Bobby
Oh,
Wagner is
my.
taking a visit to the Rams.
yes.
So
we know that,
they
yeah.
they are going to be talking contract while he's there. They're going to be showing him everything about the team and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's going to come down to, I feel like the only thing that's stopping Wagner from signing would be let's see if we can agree on a contract. If they can agree on a contract, he'll probably easily just sign with the Rams. And what a get for the Rams,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Bobby
right.
Wagner, a Pro Bowl, All Pro linebacker. And say what you want about him, he might be a little older, but he can still play with the best of them.
Right, and he doesn't have to be the guy by himself there. That's the good part about that team with them. Like when you have an Aaron Donald and you got some of the other playmakers that are there, he doesn't have to be the whole guy like he was in Seattle, like he had to be. You know what I'm saying? he can alleviate some of that pressure. He can make some plays here and there and be part of a unified team.
He used to have that in Seattle.
Yeah, he did. He used to. Then they started to tick away. One more thing with Mike Tackett, then we'll get to Paul Matty. Why is Tyrann Mathieu still available?
Money.
Honey Badger don't care. Honey Badger smacks
Money.
the shit out of it.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's money. I think for Tyrann Mathieu, he's talking to a couple of teams. We're hearing right now that the Steelers are really interested. They're talking with his agent. I've heard rumors about the Raiders even talking to him. But I think it's coming to money. I think he wants about $15 million a year, which is kind of like that's a lot of money for a safety. Unless you're Ed Reed, I'm not paying you $15 million a year. So Tyrann Mathieu, I think he's going to have to come down on his number a little bit in order for him to sign somewhere. But that's really the issue. I feel like it's the amount of money that he wants.
Thanks for the treat, stupid.
There you go. Paul Matty, how about Cincy getting Burrow some offensive
Jesus.
line this offseason?
I mean, Ted Karras coming over from the Patriots at guard. Then they add another guard to kind of really lock up that interior O-line. And then they didn't stop there. As soon as the Cowboys cut La'el Collins, here comes Cincy saying, hey, we're going to lock you up. You're going to be our right tackle. And we already drafted our left tackle, so we are set. We are good to go. Joe Burrow, no worries about getting injured this coming season, and you're going to have all the time that you want.
Yeah, how about making a push again to try and make it to the Super Bowl again? We saw what they were able to do last year when they hit hit everything hot and got their hot stride. But again, we thought they were just a little premature, so look at them now, revamp
Even
offensive
stronger.
line, even stronger. It's going to look nice for them. And
Just
they
like
can
we
make that
called it,
push again.
because there were a team coming into this free agency that had a lot of cap space. They were going to be able to address all these different needs, and you're seeing it now. They definitely shored up their offensive line. They have their young receivers in place. And Joe Burrow, they have their quarterback. They have Joe Mixon at running back. Their defense, they just got to make better throughout the draft, and they could easily be right back in the big dance.
If you look at some of the remaining free agents out here too, I mean, there's a few out there still. I mean, that could fall into some places here. But again,
can we point a finger right now? We've already talked about Wagner and Matthew and all that, but can we? I got a really big question here. How the hell, if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are signing all these guys back,
right?
How come Rob Gronkowski is still available and still out there? You would think that he'd be a very easy signing to bring him and reunite him with Tom Brady. So I wonder if Gronk is quietly entertaining other teams and talking to other teams maybe quietly, and maybe he might be thinking about moving on from returning from Tampa.
He could be. I mean, it's he also had hinted, I think, he was one of the other players that hinted out that he would be happy playing with Joe Burrow in the Cincinnati Bengals. So maybe he's feeling things out there too, and maybe there is something on the table there. Maybe imagine that, because again, they moved on from Uzomah, and now he's over there with the Jets, and they could still use
they got a hole
there.
there. But I don't know if Gronk wants all the responsibility. You know what I mean? And it's got to be the right fit, because let's be honest, C.J. Uzomah, even though he took over a couple of games and stuff, are they going to utilize with all these other receivers? Is there going to be enough footballs to go around and to give Gronk?
Paul Matty says here that Gronk will sign with the Bucs. That's
We've
what
said
we're
the same
expecting.
thing.
We're thinking. We're just wondering why is it taking so long.
But it shouldn't be taking this long.
Right? Mike Tackett, bigger FU move. Baker traded to Pittsburgh or OBJ going to Cleveland wearing number 6.
I think Baker traded to Pittsburgh. I think that's easy. Because OBJ, he doesn't mind. He actually already expressed that he wouldn't mind going back to Cleveland now that they actually have a quarterback like Deshaun Watson. Wouldn't mind to go there. When the timetable is going to be based on his recovery, and it could be he could miss some time early in the season. It could be midway season until he's fully ready to go. So we'll have to see how he does in his recovery. But as far as maybe Baker being traded to Pittsburgh, I think that'd be a blessing in a sense, because there's no. I know they signed Mitch Trubisky, and that's the favorite to be the starter. But let's just say that quarterback job is open for grabs. I mean, we already know that Mason Rudolph is not going to be the starter. We've seen enough from him. We already know what he is. But maybe with further development of Dwayne Haskins under Pittsburgh's, tenure that with Mike Tomlin, that maybe he got good enough to maybe compete for that starting job. You sign Mitch Trubisky. I think that's a really good, under the radar type of signing for a team that needs a quarterback. He's going to compete for that job, who seems to be the favorite because he signed there. And then also, if you were able to pull off obviously with a restructured contract, if Cleveland, did that for him to lighten that cap number, and they give up only one low pick to obtain yet another quarterback to compete with, I don't know. It could be a really good quarterback, competition there in Pittsburgh.
Right. And then, that's another thing that kind of goes in tail with what I had said earlier with the Carson Wentz move. It happened early before a lot of this other shuffling went down. And Mitch Trubisky, that's what's funny, that some of the news that came out, and they were acting like, oh, my goodness, Mitch Trubisky, what a great move, and all this stuff. And I'm like, really? We're having this conversation about Mitch Trubisky? It's crazy. It's like, whoa, he just went to Pittsburgh, and now it's brilliant. Yeah. Because the Pittsburgh Steelers have been known to make a lot of different brilliant moves on and things. They're one of those standard franchises that's been pretty stable and not having a losing record in a long time. I don't know to make the right moves. But again, when you get like a Baker Mayfield, this would work out too as well. Even though they went and grabbed Mitch Trubisky early on, this move wouldn't kill you because, again, the value is so low. So really now you still don't really have to give up a whole lot there. And what you might be able to find something that you found early on in his career that got everybody buzzed about Baker Mayfield. And Paul Matty says right here he's injury riddled. Yeah, well, then if he gets injured again, you've got some Mitch Trubisky right there, too. For me, I really like Mitch Trubisky, too, but Baker Mayfield, I think he has a more potential because we kind of see Mitch Trubisky and what he really was able to do, as a starter for many years. We kind of know what he is.
We do, but Pittsburgh doesn't know what he would be in their offense.
Right. For me, I think by watching him play, I think you get him on the run. He throws better for some reason when he's bootlegging and running.
Outside the pocket.
When he's running. When he's in the pocket, he just seems like he doesn't catch his reads quick enough, and then the pressure's there, and he's either getting sacked or whatever. But if he's able to get out of the pocket and on the run, and he can make a lot of plays. And not only just with his legs, but that arm. I've seen him be able to get out there, and it's not like people are playing him like Patrick Mahomes out there, and they're like, oh, we got to key up because he might take off running. Maybe he has that little bit because he's done it before, but he's not that scary of enough weapon on his legs that people are afraid of that. But he just seems like his accuracy is even better. He sees it a little better on that. Maybe it's because it cuts the field in half, which is better for him that way. But on the run, he's better. So if they do something like more bootlegs and stuff like that, get him moving, that would be better and be beneficial for the team altogether.
I would say Mitch Trubisky, there's a reason why they signed him is because Mike Tomlin and the offensive coordinator with Pittsburgh now, they want a more mobile quarterback. They don't want Big Ben anymore. They don't want that kind of style. They want to be able to utilize those option plays and those rollouts and attack defenses from different angles with their quarterback. So that's why they signed Mitch Trubisky, and Mitch Trubisky does have a hella set of wheels on him. Mm-hmm. You might not look like it, but he can run. Mm-hmm. And if you remember in Chicago, before he lost his job because of injury, he went 5-0 in the beginning of the season and was kind of tearing it up. So you have seen him be at his best, and yes, he's also made his fair share of mistakes, but maybe with this new atmosphere in Pittsburgh, with the offense that's kind of catered to his style of play, he could really thrive in Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. And I would also entertain that trade too. Maybe Pittsburgh brings in Baker for added competition and let the best man win. Mm-hmm. Why not do that? I mean, yes, we all know Seattle still is lost and doesn't know what the hell they're doing. They still haven't decided on what quarterback they should target, mm-hmm. Or if they're going to. But in the end, what can we say about this offseason is that it is definitely the wildest offseason I don't know about you, Jim. I think you agree. Definitely the wildest offseason I have ever watched. I have ever been involved in. So, holy crap. A lot of trades, a lot of big names moving from team to teams. and it doesn't seem like it's going to stop because they are still a few big names that still have yet to sign, and a lot of under the radar signings that still have to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. We're keeping our finger on the pulse. We're watching it just like as you guys are. We're super excited. Again, to remind you guys, if you guys haven't yet, follow us on Twitter, FB_no. If you haven't jumped on, I know there's a new face for me here, Steven. He's engaged with us. We really appreciate you on Facebook as well, joining us, everybody. And on YouTube, also subscribe and like the page there, too. We really appreciate you there as well. Football
Steven
on the
just said
show.
Real quick, Mike Tomlin would end up punching Baker in the mouth.
Yeah, right? That would be entertaining.
Wouldn't it be entertaining? I would love it. Like, you're cut.
Yeah, absolutely. So we really appreciate you guys out there. It's been a hell of a ride, and we definitely are looking forward to the rest of this season and how it plays out in the draft moving forward. Mike Tackett says, when people think about best draft ever, they think of 1983. When people think of best free agency ever, this year has to be considered.
Yeah, it definitely does.
Yeah, and it does. It's crazy because every year, again, they're saying, oh, man, this is going to be exciting or this could be crazy. Mm-hmm. Nothing has topped this. And you know what I mean? And it's multiple things. It's the shock that Devonte Adams is not with the Green Bay Packers anymore. The fact that Aaron Rodgers played this whole thing like, I'm upset with you guys so much, I'm just going to leave. I don't even need to play anymore. And he stays. Tom Brady retiring. But then, listen, I didn't retire yet, whatever. You guys keep saying I'm retired. I say when I'm retiring. Then he does actually retire. And then a couple months later, he comes out of retirement again. And then so on. And everything that we saw today and everything Tyreek Hill, the cheetah on the Dolphins. Oh, my goodness. So it's super exciting, and we can't wait for the draft. We definitely appreciate everything you guys have done for us throughout everything, and we're wrapping up the show right now. We appreciate it, and we will see you guys next time.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday night for more Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.